All right, then. We are live. Greetings, everyone, and welcome for another episode of the Group Up Podcast. And I have brought to you once more an elite lineup of gamers. We're going to discuss the great Lifeweaver debate, a new hero, new season. So plenty to go around. Let me introduce my cast. In the bottom right, I have my man, KarQ Games. KarQ, what's up?
What's up, guys? How you all doing today?
Awesome. In the bottom left, clean shaven and looking fine, is DanielFenner. Fenner, what's up?
Hi.
Short and sweet. All right.
Hi.
And the Pokemon guru herself in the top left, Eskay Overwatch. Eskay, what's up?
It me. Hello.
I hope you guys appreciate the effort Eskay put into her Fugi there, where the angry eyebrows come in when she's talking to really show how she feels. But, maybe that isn't how we all feel. Maybe we're all quite happy gamers. So, fellas and lady, I would like to start us off by just getting our brief opening thoughts on the season. Or just the state of Overwatch right now. So, summarize in a couple sentences how you feel about Overwatch and Season 4 right now. I'll start with, again, in the order we went, KarQ. How you feeling?
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't play ranked at all until like yesterday. So I was just sitting in custom games playing Lifeweaver, all that fun stuff. And so far, Season 4, I think my reaction is with most of the community where it's kind of like, okay, I think mid-Season 3 or Season 3 had the best balance patch of all time. Is that what people were saying? And I tend to agree with that. So far, Lifeweaver's been the big question mark, but all the other changes I haven't really like it's been fine. Same with like the Brig shield reaction. Like I think it's been fine as well, to be honest with you, in my limited experience. But that's my take so far. I'm kind of just very neutral. I don't have a strong opinion on either side at this point because I don't have enough data.
That's fair. Very methodical. Always appreciate your data-driven approach, KarQ. I mean, yeah, we on this podcast might have contributed to the Brig fever because it was Salmon Flats on here. It was Salmon Flats on here, kind of very upset.
To be fair, I played against it and with it like 3 or 4 times, which isn't a great sample size. If anybody ever says, 3 games is enough to determine whether something is crazy OP or not, you go, yeah. I mean, I question your methods if 3 games is enough. So with that being said, when people had 0 games played on it and we're freaking out a little bit, the back of my mind's like, okay, you guys have 0 games played. Not the creators, like just the community. You guys have 0 games.
100%. That reminds me of there was a funny Eva Langwin, shared like a TikTok before Lifeweaver dropped of like her gameplay of Lifeweaver from the creator pugs, and there was someone in the TikTok comments telling her that she was playing Lifeweaver wrong, which I thought was absolutely hilarious.
Exactly.
I had the same thing with Kiriko when she came out. It's like, this is literally my first game on Kiriko, and you're shit talking me.
Yeah.
It always happens. But Dan, how have you found Season 4 so far? How would you summarize your feelings so far?
Similar to KarQ, I've just been playing lots of Lifeweaver. I was doing a subathon. It was my birthday, and it was all pretty crazy.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. So similar to KarQ, yeah, I just hit ranked today for the first time. Just played Lifeweaver before that. Mostly kind of neutral on the changes, but I think there's some good stuff in there and some potentially bad stuff and scary stuff, but I'm sure we'll get into that. But yeah, I think so far it's good, and there's just some things lurking that could turn bad.
That's fair. Totally understandable. And yeah, happy birthday, belated Dan. Your birthday was when Lifeweaver dropped, which I think is a great sign. If there's ever was a cosmic sign that you should play this hero, I think there's one right there. So yeah, we'll get into our boy Lifeweaver in a second. I also have been spending the last 3 days basically relentlessly grinding Lifeweaver, so phrasing. Eskay, how have you found this season so far?
Hello. I'm the complete opposite of KarQ and Fenner. I played ranked for 26 hours.
What?
Straight.
Oh my god.
Yeah. It feels the same.
Okay.
I didn't really notice any differences other than JQ feeling worse than she did last season.
No.
But to be fair, I like one-tricked JQ and I one-trick Cass, so I don't know. But it feels the same. Like, there's a lot of things I wish they would change for super high-rated players. Like, how to explain? Like, when you hit GM1 at the start of the season, it just says, you've hit the max rank, and then what do I do? Like, I just keep playing, I guess? I don't know, there's nothing else to do. And Yeah, that's it.
Just gives you a big game over screen, and you're like, well, okay, Overwatch completed.
Yeah.
What do I do
I
now?
I was like, oh, I could go get it on the other 2 roles, and then I do that, and it's like, oh, well, now what?
The problems of being too good. Problems of being just too good at this game.
Too
Okay.
good.
No.
I know, two good problems. Okay, so yeah, I mean, there's a lot of changes to get through. Let's start, I think, with the new hero, just because that is the one that is the perhaps most significant change, the one that most people will hopefully be excited about. To summarize my thoughts, actually, just before we go there, yeah, a little bit the same. It feels like the game feels the same, roughly. You know, I've been, again, even though I'm playing Lifeweaver, everything about the rest of the game feels very similar. Quick play has been a bit exhausting, honestly. Like it's fine. You know, you can't expect the most awesome games in quick play, but you know, some games you get great games, and other games like some guys chasing you around the map trying to solo shatter you for the funsies. So it's a little bit wild, and there is, I think, a collective sentiment of like Steam being lost. I feel like we're losing steam a little bit from that Overwatch 2 launch when everyone was really excited and happy, and now it feels like everyone's starting to get jaded again, like almost Overwatch 1-esque, where there isn't like a lot of stuff to get excited about all the time. So yeah, I'm starting to feel like a loss of momentum somewhere, but we can discuss that at length. Yeah, let's talk Lifeweaver then. So the general, what I've seen discussions of Lifeweaver and his strength in particular in the community have been people saying that he's underpowered and that he needs a buff. Aaron Keller actually said that he's looking at buffing Lifeweaver. We already had like a slight change before he even released to how his healing was done, like how it charged up. So you even got a pre-release buff, but now thinking about an actual buffs. So I'm gonna go to KarQ again first, actually. KarQ, what do you think of Lifeweaver as a hero, and do you think he needs buffs?
Yes, but just like very tiny buffs. And what I mean is not even just numbers. Changing animations and clunkiness is actually quite an underrated buff that people may not give credit for. They'll be like, okay, you fixed the clunkiness, but buff the numbers, buff the damage, which I do think he does need, but I will say just be careful because I think I recall when Ashe came out. What year did Ashe come out? 2017, 2018?
18,
something like that. I recall she was clunky on release. I don't know if you guys remember this, and I think they changed her like 3 or 4 times, fixing tweaks and animations for scope in, scope out, faster ADS, all these little animation fixes, and those quality of life changes made Ashe really good. And I actually think she has higher damage on her clunky release, and right now her damage is actually lower than it was on release, but she's all smoothed out. And she's still playable despite the whole like the Bob alt change. That's another topic for another day. But in terms of like the numbers and how they feel, it goes a long way. So in short, fix the clunkiness, like make the primary fire the heal, the secondary fire the thorns, smooth out the jump into the becoming the dash, like the Hanzo leap. Start there, and I think people would be surprised at how much better the hero will get, because I had the same impression on day 1, but after like day 3 of playing Lifeweaver, I'm like, I'm getting the hang of it, and this hero is brand new. People don't have the reps in, and I feel like after weeks and weeks and months go by, people are going to get better and better and better. The playmaking is going to get better. Like that's where a lot of his value is generated. A lot of people just look at the raw numbers, like, you know, the heals and the damage. I'm not going to lie, my damage and heals when I compare it to my other support are usually lower depending on the other support, but like you can't be a scoreboard Sally and look at the value of Lifeweaver based on those numbers. So yeah, start with the clunkiness fix and then wait and see. Maybe a small buff to a number, but that's about it. Tighten the spread or like a little bit more healing per time, or remove the movement speed penalty on the heals. That's my only suggestion. Okay, we'll go for there.
Nice. I like it. I like the term scoreboard Sally as well. I've not heard that one, but I think I'm going to use that one from now on.
Yeah, you ever been to Cineplex? You know the Susie seat kickers and the Tommy Texters?
No, these are you're blowing my mind. You're blowing my mind.
You guys don't know this reference? Oh my.
No.
I don't know what's being cooked in Canada over there, but yeah.
Hey, I'm in Canada. I don't know this.
Somebody's gonna get the reference. Not just an alliteration, but like it's, if you've been to the cinemas, I think it's at least Cineplex Canada, they have that reference all the time. I don't know if Cineplex in the US and around the world has that reference, but it's a thingy that they play in the previews for movies. They're just like,
No,
don't
and-
be a Tommy Texter while the movie's
Oh,
going.
really?
Don't
That's
kick-
hilarious.
Don't kick the seats.
No, in the UK, I just have a View cinema nearby me, and I just have John Boyega yelling at me to turn my phone off. Just like, oi, turn your phone off. Shut up now. The movie's about to start. That's what we get.
Yeah, that's basically the reference. It's basically that. They're just trying to like encourage people to don't be annoying at the theaters. Don't be a little shithead.
They should have those warnings in Overwatch, actually. Speaking of scoreboard salaries, though, this I think is an appropriate time to ask Eskay, who has, in the past also warned of the dangers of the scoreboard. You said you've been grinding ranked mostly, Eskay, but you did play a lot of Lifeweaver in the Creator Pugs before. What have your impressions been? And I remember I think you tweeted, correct me if I'm wrong, that you think he's the highest kill ceiling hero released since Ana. Is that correct?
I did tweet that. I'm still wondering. I'm still trying to think if I completely agree with like the whole message that sends. But I do think he's gonna be the hardest support to hit GM with. Whether that's just because he's bad or he's like requires so much game sense that the other supports don't really take. But I have so much to talk about. Like we were at. Oh my god. I am the complete opposite of KarQ. I want the weapon swap to stay. I will be so mad if they remove the weapon swap because it makes him so unique. I feel like he would be so boring if, like, maybe not super boring, but he would be more boring if you didn't have to constantly swap weapons. It's like really high APM, like constantly thinking about reloading, automatic reloading if you're shooting, and then automatic reloading if you're healing. You have to blah, 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 blah. And it just takes all that away if you put it to primary and alt fire. But I understand why so many people feel it's clunky. Like pressing 1 and 2 is simply not doable. You have to rebind it to something else. He just has too many buttons to press. Like, why does interact break his flower petal? Maywall gets broken by pressing Maywall again. Like Symmetra teleporter gets broken by pressing Symmetra teleporter again.
But you
when
can't
you
put
use
two
the flower petal-
platforms. But you can't put two
Oh.
platforms.
I see. So that's why it's on F. Okay, you blew my mind.
It's okay.
Also, his hitbox is way too big. I think that's his biggest problem right now.
Oh, actually, true. I
It's
didn't even
yeah,
mention
yeah,
that.
enormous.
legit.
It's pretty bad.
Like-
That's terrible.
I saw him standing next to Zarya, and they're like the same size. Like, that's a problem. But also the thing with the scoreboard, I completely agree. I think so many Lifeweavers are going to get flamed, especially in lower ranks. For like, imagine if you do a really good life grip pull on someone, and they just don't know it's good, and they get mad at you. Like, people will get mad over
Yeah.
the littlest things. Like,
I mean,
flower
people already
petals.
get
Oh,
mad
you
for
messed me up.
Zenyatta. Like Zenyatta, if you don't
Yeah.
even have enough, like you're not
Healing.
healing enough, Zen, or something. Stop DPSing, heal more. So
Yeah,
if they see
well-
life grip on the scoreboard, it's over.
I
Sorry, Lifeweaver.
I spent a week playing Lucio, and I got called racial slurs just for like not using more, as my teammates called it, don't use more yellow song. So yeah, that's definitely gonna happen.
What?
What? Okay.
Yeah, or like Sombra's having low damage, getting flamed for that.
But yeah, so what
I
else
was like,
did you feel, Eskay? I want you to get your thoughts out.
I think Blizzard needs to be really careful about buffing him because he's one of those heroes that's going to take a really long time for the player base to get used to and like understand how to play with a Lifeweaver on your team. And your team knowing how to like use your utility is much more important on this hero, I would say, than any other support. Like other supports, you can just throw stuff at your teammates and they'll do things with it, I guess. Like it's more intuitive. But Lifeweaver, they have to really think about how to use their Lifeweaver's utility kind of thing. And I feel like as Lifeweaver is in the game and more people get used to playing with him, he'll get better and better. And so they need to be really careful about buffing him. Yeah.
I agree.
Also, his needles feel really useless and they do like no damage.
Yeah.
Interesting.
They're just good for
that,
charging your ult.
lots that I want to chime in on, but first I'm gonna let Dan. Dan, you've heard a couple opinions there. Like, what is yours?
So I, for the most part, just kind of agreed with KarQ. But I also massively agree with Eskay about the fact that he's going to take a long time for people to get good at, and this is where, like, if they balance off the statistics, which is what they normally do, I think it's going to be a bit of a mistake. Like, first week, he's a very creative hero, and even if I think about Sim, like, I played a lot of Sim, and I think he shares a lot of similarities with Sim. Like, even now, you don't see people doing like crazy sim TP combos with like Diva bombs. And there was a certain time in Overwatch 1 where like sim TP Diva bomb was like absolutely insane, one of the best combos in the game. Nobody did it because it takes too much coordination. Like you're on voice comms and you're like, "Hey Diva, let's do a TP Diva bomb," and she's like, "Oh, how do I do it?" And then you're like, "Oh, I'm just gonna put TP on the ground when you drop bomb," and then she's like, "Do I have to put momentum on it?" And you can't have that conversation in a game of Overwatch. So like it's gonna take a long time for people to learn Lifeweaver and how to play with Lifeweaver and be creative. So I think the win rate is gonna take a long time to go up, and I think they need to be careful with balance. So in the same regards as KarQ, I think they need to focus on making him feel good, because right now he feels clunky and extremely slow. So I think the things they should do instead of like buffing him, which this will be a slight buff anyway, is do the left click right click thing with the weapons. Maybe make it an option for the people who do like the weapon swap, and then remove the slow while you're charging the healing, because he just ends up being one of the slowest heroes in the game. And maybe he needed that for balance or something, but I think he will just be more fun if you take that away, make him move normally, and then maybe he's too strong after that, so you find other ways to make him weaker. I think making him feel good is more important than getting the numbers in the right place right now.
Yeah, I like that take. For my part, I think I have a hot take on Lifeweaver, which is I think he's very strong actually, and I don't think anyone has truly appreciated the power that he will bring to the game. Like I genuinely think he's more transformative to the game than Kiriko was. Like Kiriko was hard meta, but I think when we look back at Lifeweaver, we're gonna realize that like I think on certain maps he'll be like a must pick, at least at the pro level and stuff, to the point where he will literally change how those maps have been played like forever. And here's why. I think so. I agree with a lot with Eskay said. I think that there's a real danger whenever a new hero is released for us to like very quickly homogenize that hero to what already exists. Like it's the nature of like internet culture is that new thing comes out, people are like, this is so broken, or they're like, oh, this is so this is so that. Like we're very quick to make a really snap judgment. So like when a hero comes out with a new mechanic, people are like, I don't like this new mechanic. Or if it comes to like weapon swapping, it is very like the clunky thing about the weapon swapping is that I found initially I was like, I don't always know which weapon I have out because I have mouse wheel. I'm a bit obstinate. I'm like, I'm gonna run with the default ones, so I have it on mouse wheel to swap. But like sometimes you mouse wheel twice, so you go the other way. So actually a change that helped is like if you put it on circle, the circle is bigger for damage versus healing, so you can actually see the crosshair change visibly depending what you have. So that helped me. Smart. That helped me like now I can tell on the screen what I have out. But what I found, so I spent yesterday duoing with ML, taking turns playing Lifeweaver to try and figure out like what his best like places, what his best pairings are and stuff. And when we weren't rapidly griefing each other, there was some real power. I think the power that will come with Lifeweaver is that on certain maps where before high ground was like the key, it will now be like a completely different setup because of Lifeweaver. Like you can now put people in positions they've never been able to go before reliably. Like obviously you have Symmetra and Maywall, but I don't think those are reliable in the sense that as Dan is talking about, like you're trying to get your teammates like guys come here, we're gonna sim TP up here. Like it's impractical. Whereas like what I find powerful with Lifeweaver is that A, you can force them if it's solo queue, but B, it's like a lot easier. You can kind of throw the platform out and it's kind of obvious where it's going. So for example, I think maps that I think about are like Route 66 second point. So I did this, I had this game yesterday where like on second point, I literally would just like platform up and I would drag my Reinhardt up. And now he physically can clear the high ground like very easily. Before previously, if I have a Reinhardt running, Reinhardt on second point routes, it's kind of like a throw, right? It's like we're kind of going to lose that game because we're never going to beat that high ground. So I think like it's interesting because I think his like carry potential, because that's often what people want to think about, right? I think with Eskay, she's probably right in that he may well be one of the hardest supports to climb on. But on the other hand, I also have this like, I had this feeling that it's like, you could carry with like, let's say you could pick Ana, Zen, or Bap in plat. Let's say you're Smurf, right? Let's say you're doing another 1,000 unranked to GM, right? And you're Smurfing in plat. You could pick Ana and Bap and Zen and frag your way out. I don't think we've ever had a hero who will like impose the state of the fight as like directly but indirectly is Lifeweaver. Like you can control so much of the fight that it's kind of unbelievable by just like pulling people into the correct positions. Like I think if you understand the game, you can have more impact on Lifeweaver than like tactically than like almost any other hero. It's like almost like that Mei-esque effect where when a Mei is in the game and it's like, let's say Brawl v Brawl, or like there's a Reinhardt, right? Just the presence of the Mei changes the whole dynamic of the game, where now you have to remember that if you walk past the choke and the wall goes behind you, you're dead. So like it just the presence of the character changes the whole state. But I think Lifeweaver is like that, but kind of on juice, where like I started, because I had the struggle at the start. I'm like, I'm putting these platforms, no one's using them. What's going on? And I kind of, again, the way I figured it out was like, I would just force people to areas where I want them to be. Like I would just, or you can lead them. Like it's almost like a dog. You're like trying to put treats and like leave a path for them to follow. So like I would throw my pedal out really far in advance.
Yeah.
At a spot where I know like they can see it. Like my teammates can see the pedal come out. And I'm like leading them, like, look, here's a platform right next to this high ground that you can pre-set up for the next fight. Or if not, then again, I would just go up and just yoink them. Like I yoinked my Ryan so many times to like come to this high ground. And the thing about players, particularly when they're bad, is that they may not realize to go there themselves. But if you force them there, they're like, oh yeah, no, this is a good place. I'm okay, yeah, here I can do some stuff. So to the long-winded rant, I think that there are certain maps where like actually the ability to put a certain member of the backline on a certain spot is ridiculous. And like he won't be the linchpin, I don't think, of compositions where like he's not the reason you pick the comp. But if you put like a Zen or an Ana who are like, let's say, really strong, and you want them to carry the fight, like you put them in a certain spot they couldn't go before, and like now it's like a whole different game. So like that's my long thoughts on Lifeweaver. I'm curious if any of you guys have any instant thoughts on what I've said.
I felt exactly the same with like as I played them more in quick play. I was like, if I just throw the platform in front of people and my Ryan sees it, he's just gonna take it because he's like, oh yeah, this is cool. But if you like put it next to them and they don't really see it and you're trying to call it out, like nothing happens. And in terms of him not being as good in lower ranked games, maybe you can get to the point where you carry by like pulling people up and stuff, but I think it's for sure that, you know, if you're playing a damage support hero, you're going to be able to carry way harder. And I feel that a lot going from the scrims that we played on the private server with Lifeweaver with the creators, where it's like mostly GM plus lobbies. Like there was a lot more times I'm just like using my abilities to like save people and stuff. Whereas in quick play, it's like if you don't actively go out there and like you said, like go up the high ground and pull them up, you kind of just sat there waiting for something to happen because it's quick play and everything's really slow because it's a low ranked game and you're not really doing anything. So I definitely think like if you want to be impactful in lower ranked games, you're gonna have to just push yourself up and do some pulls that probably wouldn't make sense. But again, you do that anyway with, you know, like Ana, you're just full DPS. And that's the best way to climb in like Plat, even though in GM, you're probably going to heal a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, it's like this duality where I think at a coordinated level, you don't need to force people, right? You can just put your platforms in spots and get people to areas that are going to be really impactful. But yeah, I think if you're playing this hero in solo queue, I think genuinely pulling your tank into the better position is like, you're going to have to ignore when you get flamed because you will get flamed. But I genuinely think if you're like, I'm a support player, I think I know what I'm doing. But the current state of support is if you're like, let's say, not mechanically a god and you can't frag your way out of Plat, and you're sat there and you're like, my tank is inting on cooldown. I actually think like yoinking them into a tactically important position is like super, super valuable. I'm curious if KarQ, Eskay have any thoughts.
I think the carry potential is lower because I've always felt that. I mean, I agree that, you know, pulling them in a tactical position would be better than, you know, they think. But then that also, you're still like relying on them to make the right decision after you pull them, which I've always felt that I think Lifeweaver will be really, really good in a set setting like Overwatch League or like really coordinated scrims. But I would even argue even in ranked, even in GM, I've seen a lot of tanks not prefer Lucio as much as they used to because they realize that like coordinating even a small disengage and engage properly is hard when not everybody's in comms. So with Lifeweaver being a hero that kind of requires a little bit of tactics and coordination, I I don't know. I feel like he just loses value. Like why? Okay, I have to reorganize my thoughts. As a support, one of the best ways to climb is to like, either get a kill or save someone, right? But I always think getting a kill, that's why I say like Dan said, like DPSing on Ana or whatever is more impactful, because if I save someone, I still have to rely on them to like kill enough to win the fight. Versus me, I could just kill them myself. If that makes any sense. And like that's instant impact versus maybe impact. I saved you, but can we do anything about it? Or I put you in a better position. Can we still make something happen? Versus like I'm a Baptiste, I'm a Zen, I can 5-orb. Oh, I actually just made something happen. I'm an Ana, I made a sleep dart, I just made something happen. You can take more initiative on other heroes versus Lifeweaver, where you have to, again, do a maybe. And then if you want to do like a deep backline kind of play where you're pulling them, for most of Lifeweaver's play, he's very defensive because he doesn't have like a hard escape. I can't reliably, consistently go into the backline and pull someone for a flank high noon. Like that doesn't work in order to find yourself into a path. Like as Kiriko, you can make impactful double dinks, headshot 2 people back to back. Like you can kill a squishy really fast and then TP out. Like that's instant impact there. Lifeweaver's like, I'll pull you. Can something happen? Hopefully. Like that's one of my takes for lower ranked, or at least ranked play Lifeweaver. He's going to be really hard to coordinate. And I have one more thought, sorry. When Dan mentioned something about like people still not even taking Symmetra stuff properly, I mean, it's a nightmare to even do the platform. I know how SVB, you're saying you can just pull someone up into your platform. Have you guys tried like coordinating like 3 people on a platform? Somebody just takes it early. One person goes up first before everybody else. Like it is so hard to get multiple people on the platform at the same time. And one thing that people don't know, you have to jump on it a bunch of times and it won't activate. Kind of like the platform on Hollywood. One thing I do is like, we're going to take this platform, but I have to comment. And like, I'm like, everybody get on it, but keep jumping on it. Don't stop jumping. So as soon as we all go on, I hop on it first and I'm just jumping to not activate the pressure sensor. And then the next person hops on. I'm like, okay, stop jumping. And then we all go up. That's like the one time I've had it work. Yeah. But that, again, that requires voice comms. You can't ping that.
Yeah, true.
So he's a high coordination hero that's just too many question marks to like be reliably impactful. Like he'll still be impactful, but like not nearly as impactful as some of the other supports.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Sorry, go ahead, Eskay, you go.
Oh, sorry. I think he's gonna be completely different in ranked versus scrims. Like I'm 90% sure he's gonna be just abysmal in ranked. But I'm also worried if he's abysmal in ranked, they're gonna overbuff him and he's gonna just be 100% figuring it out or whatever. But
I think that's a big risk.
Yeah. I think the only way that someone could succeed in ranked with Lifeweaver is just a completely unorthodox playstyle that nobody's even thought of yet. Like don't coordinate your teammates. Like what SVB said, it kind of feels like a waste to just life grip your teammate onto the high ground when they could have taken the pedal. But like, bro is not in voice chat. What are you gonna do? Like, and I feel like that's the only way he could work in ranked. You're just pulling your teammates wherever you want, or trying to DPS in the backline or something ridiculous. I don't even know, but I feel like he's gonna be really bad.
What DPS?
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, why does his needle do so little damage?
I do think it has that Mercy-esque quality, as you were saying, Eskay. Like I think the difference is, and I agree with what KarQ saying, that again, if you want to carry, you pick Zenyatta, you pick Ana, you pick Pap, and you frag your way out. But what I'm saying is, and I think the devs have gone at length to say, we want to release a hero that's like Mercy that isn't a DPS. So I think that's why the DPS is so lame and underwhelming. Like I also find the clip size is really short. Like whenever I'm about to kill someone, I have to reload, and it's like, well, fuck.
Yeah.
But I think that's the difference with him, is that he's a hero that like you don't actually ever have to DPS on to try and have an impact. Like the impact is a completely different way, which is why I think he's so unique to the game in a way that like isn't something we're used to. The impact is not at all of like, I got a frag. The impact, and nor is it, I don't even think the life grip is the impact in the sense of like saving someone. Like saving someone in a fight is great, but there's many ways to save someone in a fight. Like Suzu saves someone in a fight. Immortality saves someone in a fight. I think the value is in like just putting people in a position that is better, whether they realize it or not, and then the position does the rest. Like it's a very like, it is a faith heavy style. Like you have to rely that like, if I put this Ashe in this position enough times, she'll stand here and shoot and kill stuff eventually. But I I could be wrong, and I'm very open to being wrong. I think we're severely underestimating it. Like, I don't think he's going to be like, yeah, this is the freest way to climb. Not at all. Far from it. But I really do think that, like, if you're a tactically smart player, this is, like, the best option you've ever had to play a hero. Like, outside of, like, playing, let's say, tank and playing... In the previous times, you could have played Ryan and Winston and been like, I'm really good at my engagements, so, like, I can get a lot of value from a hero like this. I think finally in the support category, I have a hero who's like, I have a complete, like, picture of the fight, and I will manipulate it to make it look like I want it to look. That's what I think is cool about him.
But you only have one shot to do it, though. That's the thing. Like Winston, like when you mentioned Winston, he's like a 5 or 6 second leap. This is a 20-second cooldown for a life grip. That's the entire fight. So you better make sure. You also have to assume you know what you're doing as well as Lifeweaver, which is obviously going to take some time. But you got one shot. 20-second cooldown's pretty long.
It is long.
And then you lose the defensive ability. Once you position them, then you don't have that like other option to like save someone from shatter or charge or whatnot. Which I will say, Reinhardt feels terrible to play against Lifeweaver. I mean, I'm playing against Ryan's all the time in these like practice games. With Lifeweaver, I'm making Ryan a living nightmare for the enemy team by playing this hero. Just pointing that out. I think Ryan's kind of meh right now. Anyways, go ahead.
No, I agree. I agree. And I think it's a good point. I don't think it's just. I do think the way is to like quietly manipulate them. That's my theory. It's like, again, the pedals that like you lead them to. Like you just kind of. I just find the pre pedals 10 seconds before the fight. Like, you know, you want to fight, you're regrouping. Here's a pedal. To the high ground, like, you know, you just throw it really early, and then you kind of have that, like, you've given them the lead. And yes, half the time they're gonna walk on it immediately. I don't know why I see so many people walk on it and then immediately walk off. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like,
it activates so fast,
it.
you don't realize. I think a lot of people don't realize they're on it. I mean, even myself, I put it down thinking I'll step on it after, but I accidentally touch it, and I'm like, oh shoot, and then I just like, you know, the cooldown's gone.
And another reason why I think it's worrying to balance him so fast, like 90% of the people who take the platform right now, they still don't jump when they get to the top.
True.
So like I don't think we should be jumping to like buffing the hell out of him. And who knows if it's gonna be the hell out of him, but even at all when people don't even know to jump yet.
I agree. I 100% think my prediction would be he's gonna get Giga buffed. Then I think Eskay is right. He's gonna get Giga buffed. Then he's gonna get like 100% Al. Then everyone's gonna be like, "Oh my god, this hero is busted! Oh, I can't believe this hero. They ruined Overwatch again." I don't think he should get. But I think quality of life is where it is. I think the only real change I would like is the removing of the slow, because it's like it's really pointless why he gets slowed when he's charging his heals. Like,
I don't understand it.
It's not like the heals is high. What's that, Eskay?
Yeah, especially because he's so big. Like, it makes it even worse.
Yeah. Oh my god. If you played against a Sojourn, it's actually awful. Like the spread on Sojourn was nerfed a lot, but like it's fine on Lifeweaver because like your hitbox is massive. You give Sojourn free rails, and the Sojourn can't miss on you at this point. So
I also feel like I get farmed by Genjis a lot because like all the 3 shuriken just hit me. Like, you know, he just throws the shuriken and all 3 hit my giant ass pedals.
Yeah, Tracer and Sombra, they're spread too. Every bullet hits you.
Oof.
Yeah, so I think there's like these teething problems, but go ahead, SK.
I think in order to make him like ranked viable, they need to make him less team play. Like they need to buff his individual play. They need to buff his heal or his needler if that's the way they want to go to like make him viable and ranked.
I have a feeling. Sorry, go on.
Oh yeah, just because team play is like non-existent. Pros don't even join voice chat anymore.
True.
I have a feeling.
Go ahead, Dan. Go ahead.
I have a feeling like based on the things I've said, like with the mercy comments they've made about him, they really don't want him really doing more damage. They really want to keep him just this healer utility spot. And I think it's a good idea because like you said, he does feel very unique. And it's nice that there's a support in the game that is like, I'm a healer. I don't really have to worry about doing damage.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that like I don't think they can really buff his damage or his heals. Like, I think that the best they could do is give his ammo a longer clip, because I don't think they want him to be a DPS. Like, they clearly don't want him to be a DPS support. And I think, like, you buff his damage, then all of a sudden it becomes like, well, he's just going to run around in the back line, trolling it up and, like, you know, dueling people, which that's... I think you know, I get what you're saying, SK, about, like, well, this is how you make him rank viable. I don't even know...
Yeah,
if I care. Like I someone who's dedicating
That's
himself to
fair,
Lifeweaver for
yeah.
now.
That's
Like
fair.
I feel like because then it becomes like a dangerous thing, right? Where it's like now everyone's playing Lifeweaver to troll around in the back line, and now you've lost like the whole reason the hero exists, and you've kind of encouraged like an almost wrong playstyle just for the sake of like, well, now here's a way to climb. Like I don't really care so much if it's like the optimal pick to climb as much as he's the optimal hero for what he's supposed to be. And I think that's where we can kind of aim if you're going to adapt him anyways. Like, yeah, maybe increase the ammo clip of his damage so that he can at least finish targets off more reliably, and maybe, yeah, remove the speed slow. But I do think that, like, so what was that?
Oh, just start there then. That's what I was saying. Just
Yeah,
start
yeah.
with the animation. I know Eskay doesn't want it, but I think you just start with the animation fix, remove the movement speed. Don't change any numbers then if we don't want to make him more damage, like DPS heavy and or heal heavy. He's all utility and playmaking, so just start with the fluidity of the hero, and it goes a long way. Oh, a long way.
Yeah, agreed. Because again, I think I don't want to see him homogenized. That's my biggest fear. Like, I don't want to see him become like every other support in that vague sense of like, oh, okay, well, if you want to carry in rank, just go do this. And I think he's cool right now. I think he's really cool.
Yeah.
What do we think about the tree? We haven't mentioned the tree actually. But any thoughts on the tree?
I really
Healing
like that it
sucks.
can body block people.
Yeah, the best value is just like using it to block doorways, chokes, and countering ultimates, rather than using it for the heal. It's just a glorified like soldier heal pad. That's it. It's kind of slow. Minus the instant burst healing is nice, but like the pulsatingness is like whatever. 50 HP every what? 1.75 seconds.
50?
It's only 50. It's not
That's
great
It's
healing.
50 a second.
It's like 50 every like 1.5 to 2 seconds.
Oh,
It's kind of
okay.
slow. So
50
it's
every
not
pulse.
every pulse, and the pulses are kind of slow. It's mostly just like extra cover and the utility from that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it counters a lot of things in terms of blocking stuff because it's like an object created. You can stop Sigma's flux completely, which is like one thing I really enjoyed when Sigma's like I've tried to time it to counter like Ryan's shatter, but it's too slow to like click and then click again to plant the tree in front because Ryan Shatter's quicker. But something like Sigma Flux, when you see the red circle, there's like a second before it actually picks someone up. You have enough time to look at the center black hole and put your tree right in the center black hole, and it picks nobody up.
Oh, it blocks
Ooh.
LOS. That's so smart.
Yeah, it blocks LOS in all directions. So it's like,
Wait, if you put it right in the middle?
yeah,
You do it
Oh,
for
wow.
Doom ult too then, right?
Yeah, I saw you. You can block a
Well,
mail with it as well.
Doom ult will slide on either side though, depending on
I
the
see.
thing. So, but what was I gonna say? Like, there's playmaking in terms of like, I use Tree of Life less for the heals, but more to like counter ults, or like if someone's trying to escape, catch someone off by blocking the door. Like on Midtown first, defenders come out that little like door. Sometimes supports hang out in there. Like if an Ana's in there and I put the tree there, the Ana cannot do it. She has to walk all the way around. It's 1,000 HP is so much to go through.
Yeah, right.
Like that is the impact of it, in my opinion, rather than the heals. But yeah, that's my take on Tree of Life.
I saw a really funny Tree of Life on Route 66. They were coming back. Okay, the defenders were coming back to defend first point. And they were in the tunnels. And their Lifeweaver put the tree in the tunnels to save them. And then they couldn't touch point because they couldn't break their own Lifeweaver tree.
Exactly.
They were all just stuck behind it.
You can cancel it. Why do people not? Lifeweavers need to know you can break your own
I didn't
tree.
know that.
I didn't
Yeah, you didn't know that?
either.
Oh
I
my.
played so many hours.
Tips and tricks, guys. I got you. I'm
There you
delivering them
go.
even in the podcast.
One quick tip: break your own tree.
Break your own
Yeah.
tree if you mess up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like another May wall basically that you have access to, right? Where it's like I do think like the burst healing is the biggest impact. We're like burst healing, and as Dan said as well, you can. I saw Samito cancel May ult with it. Like he put it on top of the snowball, and it just made the May ult disappear. So yeah, I think the tree is probably like one of the more underwhelming parts of his kit. When that like it's not outstanding in any regard, right? Like the most value it has is being a giant object on the screen, and like sometimes you accidentally grief your teammates by blocking them into where they didn't need to be, or sometimes you use it to block someone. So it's not like a crazy ultimate, but I'm okay. I'm totally welcome this world where like nothing is ridiculous on this hero. I don't think, which is anti-business in a way. Like you want it to be ridiculous so that everyone plays the hero, but at the same time, it's good for the game, I think, to not have everyone be mad that the hero is like broken and must pick or whatever. Right? It's like there's no winning. Either the hero is Kiriko and everyone's upset that Kiriko is a must pick, or the hero's Lifeweaver and everyone's upset that the hero isn't strong enough.
But that's the thing, Louis.
Yeah.
Like, people figured out Kiriko pretty quick. Like, at the base of it, Kiriko is pretty simple. You know, you run it down mid, you throw kunais, and you TP back. And I think people figured that out pretty quick. It just took a long time to get the mechanics down. Whereas like Lifeweaver is like the opposite. It's like the mechanics aren't that crazy, but you got to learn all these moves. Like, we're what, 3-4 days into the season, we're just learning can block mail. So like there's gonna be loads of those situations that just start coming up.
For sure. Eskay, any other thoughts on Lifeweaver before we move on to other topics?
Yes, I want to say it like saddened me to see how few non-Overwatch like streamers or content creators came back to check out Lifeweaver, you know? Like, oh, there's this new hero, and then without the Twitch drops, our Twitch section was like still pretty sad. I don't know. There was like no non-Overwatch streamers that came back to see it. It makes me wonder how Overwatch is seen in the like gaming community, you know?
Yeah, it's a very good point. I think it leads nicely into the next section, which is that, like what I alluded to earlier. I do feel like there's a momentum loss somewhere. Like we're just not getting that same push almost. I feel like on a wider scale, there's like a general apathy or boredom with like FPS games where like the audience are kind of like tired of the same three, you know, major shooters kind of dominating everything. And I feel like people are bored of like fundamentally playing those. Like they've played, you know, if Valorant, Apex, Overwatch. If you want, I don't think I would add CS in that because I think it's a different audience. But like, you know, if you want to add CS, you can add CS. But it's like people have played all those. You know, like if you're like an FPS gamer and you're looking for something, I feel like you played all of them. You know all of them. And if you're like, you're just kind of maybe hopping between them when something new drops. But even then, you're kind of like, oh, it's just Overwatch, but with one new hero that how often can you pick the new hero? Barely, right? If you even buy the battle pass.
Yeah.
And how much will it even make the difference? So same for Apex and Valorant. Like I feel like Valorant is the same thing where a new hero drops and yeah, okay, you're excited about the lore of the new hero and who the new hero is, but like, are you going to go play for the new hero? It doesn't really change anything. The game is still the same.
True.
So I feel like there's like definitely been a momentum drop, and I'm curious if Dan or KarQ have any thoughts on that kind of feeling.
You're saying a momentum drop in general, right? Like not just Overwatch?
Well,
like,
I do think for us it's noticeable for Overwatch. I mean, I can't make too firm a commentary on what it's like for Apex and Valorant. This is my vague observation, but I think for sure with Overwatch we've had like a momentum drop.
I was just gonna say, anecdotally speaking, I think we're just getting old. Like that mystical feeling of gaming when new stuff comes out. Like I remember being a kid and just, you know, every new update on like RuneScape, for example, I would like check it out. But like, I don't know, the older you get, it just, I don't know, maybe I'm just deflecting, or what is it called, projecting. But I even with like you can be disappointed in people not coming back for Lifeweaver, but I felt that way for like even new Apex releases. I play a lot of Apex too and some Valorant, but like I'll check out the new like trailer on YouTube, but I'm not like, oh, I want to log in and try it right away.
True.
And then like, I don't know, that feeling's just kind of gone in overall, not just from Overwatch. So I don't know if like the other people feel the same way, but that's just how I feel.
Yeah, I guess if I think about it, I'm the same because I also really like Apex, and like I remember. I mean, I don't even know if there's been a new hero since the one with like the purple walls and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But I saw that trailer. I thought it was really cool, and I was like, "Well,
it's
I
cool.
don't want to."
Yeah,
I don't. Really
it's cool for like a minute or two. It's cool for a minute or two. It's like, am I gonna
I've
play?
got the heroes that I
log in
like
and
to
try
play
it?
already, so I'm good.
Yeah.
And I think that's an interesting thing. I think that because I got asked a similar question today, which was, you know, how's ranked this season? And I'm like, well, it's the same as last season. You know, Overwatch is Overwatch, and they can keep pumping content into PvP and stuff, but at the end of the day, it's still the same game. So nothing changes massively unless Lifeweaver becomes like full meta. But like, if you're trying to bring people from another game into the game, I don't think it matters much if a different hero is meta, because like I've been dabbling in a bit of Valorant, and it's like I go and play it, and I play the hero that I like. I don't know the meta. And if they did a balance patch on like, let's change the Phantom or the Vandal to be weaker, that's not going to affect me. That's not going to make me want to play the game or anything. So yeah, I think overall Overwatch is Overwatch. FPS games are FPS games. And like the big thing we're going to get, if there's going to be like a lot of hype, is the PvE.
Yeah,
Because that's going to be
actually
something
the only...
very different.
Exactly. That's the only big change that would actually get people to be like, oh, I'll check it out. Because like, Dan, Eskay, do you guys read Valorant patch notes actively?
No. And I play a little
No.
bit. I play a little bit of Valorant, but I do not read the patch notes.
Do you read the Apex patch notes?
No.
Honestly speaking,
If I'm gonna play this season, but I haven't looked at them in ages.
yeah, exactly. So like so when other people want to come back and check out Overwatch when a new hero comes out, like there's a really big casual audience for this game who just like, if it's not big enough, like a big enough update, it's like Overwatch is Overwatch. They played it maybe in like 2018, 2019. Yeah. They're not as compelled to come back.
Yeah, patch notes are content, but patch notes are content for the people who are already playing the game.
Exactly. So how do you bring people from different communities to actually come and play and try the game? Esports helps. Esports helps certainly.
League. Sorry.
I don't know.
I don't know if that's even true though. Like while I totally I'm here for the, you know, our esports is not as what it could be. I don't know if it's the audience. Like this is I think what these three games are realizing is that like the market model is like not fitting their genre of game in a way. Like the thing about Overwatch is that it's trying to be a casual game, right? Like I'm not using that in any pejorative way. It's like you're trying to appeal to an audience of people who hop in and play. Do those people care about the pro level? No, like they don't give a shit. Like it's not CS:GO where everybody's invested in the like optimization of the game, right? It's like this is a game about playing it to the max. And even Valorant has this to some extent. Like it is an esport first. Overwatch has never been an esport first, and like the audience has never been that.
I would say it's less about like being invested in esports and more of like, because the active esport is being played, a random person might check it out and feel inspired to play. I mean, sometimes I'll like tap into like VCT and I'll like, okay, I feel like playing a game or two after watching it. Like that's important. And then maybe you won't convert everybody, but maybe somebody will get hooked onto the game again simply because they saw a bit of like the Overwatch League and they're like, oh, they tried it again. Maybe 9 out of 10 people will be like, it feels the same, whatever. At least I played it once, and okay, I'll wait till next season or next major update or two. But then if 10% of people be like, oh yeah, I forgot how fun this game can be, and they start playing it actively again, that's so good for Blizzard. So yeah.
It happened to me with Valorant. I saw so much Game Changers content on Twitter. I was like, dude, I gotta play again. And then I started playing and I'm like, well, I'm gonna play Valorant more now. Yeah.
But then the end of that story is that you quit again because you didn't enjoy playing. And I think that is the undercurrent, is that I think again, the point I'm trying to make is that like it all comes down to like the core experience, like, you know, the sort of the new heroes, the new new content, new weapons, whatever it is that you're dropping are ultimately actually fringe mechanics. Like they're candy to draw you into the shop, but the shop has to be good. I don't know where I'm going with this metaphor, but the shop has to have all the delicious treats you actually want, right? And I feel like what these games have struggled with compared to, I don't know, let's say like a Fortnite or even like MOBAs. Like MOBAs, the core experience of the game has always remained true to itself, and you know, for those set of players, fun, right? And like I think Fortnite is so successful because it, you know, even though it did reinvent itself, for the core audience, the core gameplay has remained fun. Whereas the problem, I think, Overwatch is, again, I'm not going to speak too strongly on Valorant or Apex, but I think people are bored with the core experience of playing Overwatch is the problem, right? Like that's why even if you release a new hero and they come back, they're like, well, okay, it's still Overwatch, and I got bored of Overwatch the first time. And I think it's the same that Eskay and like esports. From my, you know, whatever vague analysis I have, esports viewers are not players usually. Usually people who watch in esports are people who don't have the time to play the game, but are interested in the nature of the game and enjoy keeping up with like watching people who are better than them play, basically, because they don't have the time. Like if you're watching Valorant, like I do this a lot with StarCraft 2, for example, where it's like I don't have the time to go in and grind the hardcore mechanics that it requires to keep up with like the rank that you want to be at StarCraft 2. But it's very easy to sit and watch other people play. It's very entertaining. You get to keep in touch with the game. without ever actually having to engage in the stress of playing it. And I think that's especially true for like games that are so demanding, like Overwatch, like Valorant, like Apex, like StarCraft 2. So I think like the esports might draw in a wider audience appeal, but if your core experience is still boring, whether you drop a new hero or not, it's not going to change whether people stick around or not. Does that make sense? Hello guys, SCB here. Just want to quickly interrupt this episode of the Group Up Podcast to say that if you've been enjoying this content, then please do consider supporting me directly via Patreon. It really does help since Patreon only takes about 10% of your money, where YouTube and Twitch take 40 and 50% respectively. So it supports me and allows me to keep making videos no matter how many views they do or don't get. Also, if you are really enjoying this discussion, then why not consider watching some of my other content? First and foremost, my Twitch stream where this podcast is hosted live, and I stream 5 days a week doing a bunch of other things as well. If you're not much of a Twitch viewer, then you can check out the SVB side channel, where all the best bits from the stream go straight to YouTube in highlight format, including VOD reviews, gameplay, and streamer formats such as the Fantasy Overwatch or Rank Gauntlet that you may have seen other streamers participate in. And finally, if you're sick of Overwatch, then you could check out my other channel, The Soak, which is where I do movie and TV breakdowns. And I've done videos on things like Avatar: The Last Airbender, Pixar's Up, and anime like KarQ. So if any of that sounds up your street, then all the links are in the description. But now, back to the discussion.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing
Yeah.
Overwatch does bad is like giving people motivation to play. Like at the end of the day, I guess it is sort of the same thing over and over again. But like if you're not going for a higher rank, maybe this is just me not enjoying quick play or whatever, but it feels like if I'm not going for a higher rank, I don't have a reason to play. Like maybe
There's
if
no
I had
sense of
some cool
progression.
titles to go for, yeah, there's no
Yeah.
progression. That's what I'm getting at. Like if I had some cool title to go for every hero, and it's like, oh, I can unlock this super cool Lucio title for doing this, that, then it gives me motivation to play. It just lacks that in like every sense, I suppose.
I feel like I'm so disconnected from the casual player because I just play ranked,
Same,
and there's
yeah.
like there's a
Same,
massive
though. Yeah.
audience of like Mystery Heroes players, and like you know, how well did Mystery Heroes comp do? Because I know there's so many players who just sit in arcade, they sit in Mystery Heroes. I have a lot of people in my chat who literally just play Mystery Heroes. So, but I don't do that. I can play like one game and I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah, I get so bored so fast.
But there's the epiphany of why it's so successful, because Mystery Heroes is a different experience every time you play it. Like
Yeah.
it's ironic. It's like, because when you lock into even if you're quick play or rank, you want to play a certain hero. Ironically though, being denied exactly what you want makes the experience more fresh, because you're not just, you know, it's almost like tricking yourself into playing something fresh, right? It's like if you gave me the choice, I'm feeling like playing support today, I'll play the 2 supports I want to play. But if you force me into Mystery Heroes, oh shit, today I'm a Hanzo now. Lol, this is kind of funny because I'm missing every shot. But okay, oh, I died, I'm a different hero. Oh shit, I died, I got the hero I want. Now, yeah, now I'm going to pop off. Okay, so it's like the fundamental experience is different, right? So it actually reinvents itself for you. And I think, again, another good parallel might be something like Hearthstone that I think about. Like, I play Battlegrounds a lot. And I think the reason that is successful, not that it's like rampantly successful and we need to copy it, but I think a part of its success is that every couple seasons they actually fundamentally change the experience of what playing Battlegrounds is. Whether that's like adding, so they're like, for example, they'll add a buddy system. So for those who are unfamiliar with Battlegrounds, it's an auto battler. You know, you buy your minions from a neutral tavern, you assemble your deck, and then every turn you fight one of other 8 players in the lobby. But, you know, every season they'll add like a new tribe, and that changes it up because the tribe has a totally different mechanic that you have to learn now and go against. Or again, they'll add like a buddy system where your hero, you pick a hero at the start, your hero has a power, but now your hero also has a buddy, and the buddy has a unique ability which changes, like, you know, the strength of your hero completely, and the whole meta shifts because now the power of the buddies defines what good heroes are good as opposed to just the power of the hero. So it's like the game is reinvented, and I think that's a good way. Where I think the only thing we can do with Overwatch is PvE. That's the only way to reinvent.
Yeah, you can't reinvent ranked at this point with one hero at a time. Yeah.
No.
I play an auto battler too. I play TFT a lot, so I know exactly what I don't play Battlegrounds, but I know what you're kind of going for. Like each season, there's a huge shift every season for sure because of like the new traits or new tactics and whatnot. But a new season of Overwatch, like season 3 was an example. There's no new hero. Nothing changed for 4 months, right? We had Ramatra come out. Okay, that was fun in December. And then after about a month, it kind of wears off, right? And then now we have to survive until April for the Lifeweaver. And Lifeweaver's not even in ranked yet, so it's been longer. It's almost 4 months. Long
and
time.
now in ranked, we have the same rank as last season because we have no more decay, apart from the bugs that happened. So it's like you finishing last season, you come into the new season, it's the same season.
Yeah.
It's just kind of bled once again.
Yeah, that one's a
100%.
pretty high contention point in the community. Some people want it, some people don't.
Yeah.
I'm indifferent to that, to be fair, but yeah, that could go another direction. I don't know if we want to head in that direction for.
Yeah, we totally can. I mean, we're free balling here. I mean, I'm just curious if Eskay has any thoughts on what we've spoken about.
It's making me sad. Why do I still play this game? No.
Because it's your
What's my
job,
motivation?
streamer. It's
What's
your
my
job,
motivation?
streamer. Play Overwatch now.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Eskay.
I think I know it's like a very, very small percentage of the player base, but there's like no motivation to play once you hit the highest rank. Player profiles. Ugh.
What about when top 500 is out? Do you have the motivation then? Or is it just
No,
before
because-
top 500?
Because when top 500 comes out, it's like hitting rank 1 then is astronomically easier than hitting rank 1 at the end of the season. So basically, what you want to do as a top 500 player is push all your ranks as high as you can in the first 2 weeks when you don't even know what your rank is. And then for the rest of the season, you can never touch your peak. Like, you won't even get close. Because it's just
True.
way
Yeah,
harder.
okay.
And with the way profiles
I
work,
agree with
like,
this.
it's actually happened for all 3 seasons for me. Like, I'll hit my peak on the first day top 500 comes out, and then I'll never get close for the rest of the season. Like, why do I even play? They need to change the career profile from displaying your highest rank on the top 500 leaderboard to like an SR number.
Current.
Yeah.
Well, you could also show current correctly. If you look at anybody's thing, like,
Yeah. Why does
you'll
it
see
just
their
say
season hot. They'll
GM1?
just say GM1, so you'll never
It's
actually
so
know.
dumb. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like anti-competitive in the competitive game mode. I just don't get that. It needs to overhaul, at least in the very top. I feel like it's not terrible in lower ranks.
You play Valorant, SK. How is it different there?
In Valorant, if you are Grandmaster Immortal, which is the equivalent of Grandmaster, it tells you what number in Immortal you are. So like, say there's 20,000 Immortals. If you just hit
Yeah.
Immortal, you're Immortal number 19,870, and you can just watch it go up and up and up.
But
And then
like at the start of a new season, do you not have the same issue where it's like people are only just getting in, so the numbers higher for free?
the thing with Valorant profiles is that it only displays your rank at the end of the last season. So you technically don't even
okay.
have a profile every season. The only thing you can like flex is the rank that you finished at in the previous season.
Right.
I mean, I
Yep.
think these are, definite concerns, but I think this is a sentiment felt across the community. I mean, the devs have said for a long time that their number one priority is getting people to stay playing the game and give them an incentive to play the game because, again, everything else that you add is meaningless if people can't stick around with your game, like if they don't actually enjoy continuing. And this is where I guess we can talk generally about the rank system because, we've had some changes this season. I was not very happy with the start of how this season started, with the way they kind of screwed up a little bit the day one rankings and like people.
Yeah.
So my last season's profile got absolutely fucked with. So like
Same.
I had
Mine did not. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah, I know.
So
I know,
I'm not
KarQ. I know
complaining.
you
I'm
went
not
up. I know
complaining.
you went up, KarQ. I know.
I went
so,
up
so you
everywhere.
eat-
Everything went up.
You eat
My true MMR was showing.
I do think this
Or
is
was
like
it?
maybe, and maybe it is a skill issue. Maybe I just suck ass. But like, so to give my personal example, like I spent last season. I don't grind rank much because I don't think it's really fun and I'm not super motivated to do it. But in between my other content that I make, like I do periodically grind rank, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get GM all roles this season. That's like a personal goal. Let me hit that. So I spent like a week or two towards the end doing it, and I got there. I got my tank was already GM. I got my DPS in much struggle two tricking Sombra Reaper to GM4, and then I was like, okay, back to my support, the role that I started Overwatch 2 playing. I got that to GM2, playing it for the last couple days, and then the new season drops, and my profile for the last season says Master 1. Like I literally I hit GM2. I hit GM2. I played like 2 games. And it then new season starts. It says for the previous season it says Master 1, and I'm just like, I spent
That sucks.
all my time grinding for this achievement that I was like very proud of. I was like, okay, yo, I did it. I proved it to myself, and this will stay. Like the one comfort was like, no matter how bad I get, this little screenshot will stay that proves that at this point in time I hit this thing, and that was robbed from me day one. Where I'm looking at it, I'm like, what the fuck? Now, go ahead, Dan.
I think it's a huge issue because like for all of the seasons in Overwatch 2, we've kind of had like these fake ranks. No one really knows what rank they are. And then we finally get to the season where it's like, we're going to show you your real rank. And now it's like a massive bug. And it's like people like you and me, like I did 10 rank updates in GM1 last season, managed to sustain it. And then I opened this season. It's like, oh, you Masters 1 last season. Sorry, buddy. And it's like, that needs to be fixed fast because otherwise there's zero competitive integrity. And that's exactly why we're getting rid of those, fake decay ranks, because it's like, well, no one knows what actual rank they are. So, like, how can you want to push if it's just showing you something that's not even real?
So I will add, for sake of objectivity, is that the devs said, yo, look, sorry, we messed up. It's a bug, and we're going to fix it. But I think, point, they're going to fix it in the next patch. But my point would be that there's only like we learned this with Overwatch 1. There's only so many times you can piss off people and then they still come back. Like that's the biggest problem. Is that like I totally understand that mistakes happen, bugs happen, unintended consequences happen. But we're like season 4 and like feels like every fucking season something breaks. Like first season we had our various issues, but then we had that thing where like people were getting put in bronze 5 incorrectly, and there was a lot of people, especially new players, who were like getting put into bronze 5 and they were staying there for multiple rank updates, and it's very demotivating. And I know we've had like this whole fake SR business and the rank decay, right? That was a problem. You start season 2, let's say you climbed season 1, you got out of bronze 5 finally, and then rank decay hits, you're back down there. Oh shit, I'm back in bronze 5. I gotta climb again a second time? All right, fine, I'll do it. Fine, okay, I'll climb. You climb. Again, rank decay hits season 3. Fine, I'll climb. Finally, when they're like, rank decay is gonna be gone, guys, you can keep your rank. You go to season 4, and now you look at your previous season's profile, and it's lying about the achievement you got in the previous season. And how many times can a player psychologically be hit with like a demotivating factor versus a demotivating factor on a demotivating factor to be like, all my achievements are completely invalidated. Whenever I make them, my rank is either dropped in the start of the next season or retroactively from the previous season. And like there's the whole fake SR business, right, where it's like the rank I'm being shown isn't even the rank I actually am, and the game could decide at any point that even if so again, for my profile, even if I finish GM all roles, all my ranks next season get dropped into master. Maybe my MMR is shit, but then like why inflate my SR then into GM? Like it's all these frustrations that I know it's not just me. I know there's a lot of people have felt this, where it's like at the end of the day, we're talking about we need reasons to grind rank or just play the game. Well, when the one thing, the rank icon, the thing that you might strive for is like completely invalidated, completely stripped from you every single time, how many times can you keep facing that burden before you're like, I'm fucking done? Like, there's no point. There's no point with this.
I do want to know how much damage was caused by that bug when Overwatch 2 first dropped, where people that came back were just like stuck in bronze 5 no matter how many games they won. Like, I saw most critical finish like 4 different cards 5-0, and he was still bronze 5. And
it was 7-0 to start, remember?
So many people quit because of that. Yeah.
Man, I did not like that approach early on. The 7 games stuck in bronze 5, 4.
Yeah, 7.
That means you have to win. They won 28 games, probably lost like 20. That's like 50 plus games just to be at the same. That must feel so bad.
Like, I would immediately stop playing.
Retention, they messed up on retention. Retention's important. They just need more incentive for progression as well, for something to strive for. I think for competitive players, having like the immortal, like your number now in GM1. If you hit GM1, there's like, and your number 1,200. It's like, okay, I got to climb 700 ranks to hit top 500 now. That's actually pretty good. I like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But they need to also give like other incentives. There's some like title hunters right now. I think you get Shapeshifter for winning like 500 mystery hero wins, which is a long way to go, but they just need other things to work for. If you get a certain number of kills on a hero, or you save X amount of people, you get a cool charm and or different color options for your guns. People have been suggesting that forever, not just the gold gun.
Titles for finishing every achievement. Sorry.
Yeah, like
But-
titles are a good start. Charms are good. Things to like display your achievement, which is I have another gripe with like souvenirs. They're the most pointless cosmetic I've ever seen in my life. But anyways, but yeah, just something to work for. Kind of like WoW, people like just hunt mounts, or like in RuneScape you can hunt pets. Just like things to make people grind exceedingly long for retention.
I
And,
do
like,
think they definitely miss like something big to grind for. Let's say like just say something dumb like, oh, now you can grind a diamond weapon. It costs 30,000 competitive points. Like that's a grind, and you're gonna look cool when you got it, and then other people are gonna see it and be like, yo, I want that. That's
I want that.
so
Yep.
cool.
You'd be surprised at how far, like enthusiast level, like 30,000 or 50,000 points.
Yeah.
Like there are people who will like genuinely go for it, and it'll be the biggest flex, and it'll make people want to play. Like it is, and there are people who'll be going for it. It'll seem unrealistic until people do it, and then like more and more people get inspired, and then over the years, I think those are actually good for games. Just a thought.
Mhm.
I agree.
Eskay?
That's like the whole reason I play COD, for the weapon camos. I wanna get the coolest camo.
Yeah.
So yeah, more incentives. You guys feel like more things in game to show your your achievements, your skill, your dedication, whatever it is that you want to show, or just your unique traits. Where if you're able to get 500 wins in Mystery Heroes or whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, it still feels to me somewhere like I guess these are all systems that lean into each other, right? Like, what do you guys think are players' complaints right now? Like, what do you think you're hearing people are unhappy with, if they are unhappy? I'll go to KarQ first. I was gonna go Eskay, but then Eskay, I hope you're thankful I didn't put you on the spot first, because
I
you
am,
don't like
because I
that.
had nothing.
Yeah.
Oh. I mean, the complaints, I don't know. I follow Twitter loosely, and I see like two sides of the coins all the time. You're never going to be able to please everybody. That's like the number one rule of not only Overwatch, but just
The life.
right? You can't please everybody. So there are people now without decay. People are like, wow, we have nothing to work for when a new season comes forth. But then other people are like, yay, no decay. I can only play X amount of games a week. There's I don't know. I don't really have anything. I'm not really like strong on an opinion of what needs to be like the biggest complaint. Like, I guess for me, I think I just need something fresh. I just need PvE. That's it for me. A new hero, fun and
I feel
all,
that.
but ranked is ranked, so nothing changes. I'm able to just suck. I've always felt that I'm able to do this without too much burnout, because like I always think perspective, like there could be a million worse things I could be doing in life right now, but
Yeah.
True.
as much as I don't like, maybe I'm not having as fun as Overwatch, I probably would not be having fun doing the other job that I might be working at. So like I count my blessings, so I'm able to just suck it up. Like, I'm playing Overwatch for a living. Come on. So not too many complaints on my end, but you guys have anything else to chime in?
Well,
Go
that's a
ahead.
very healthy approach, and I appreciate that, KarQ. But I need rage. No, sorry, Dan. I mean, yeah, you don't. I'm not trying to force complaints in the sense. I'm not trying to fabricate you guys to being angry. I'm just curious what your perception is of like where you think the players at the moment are directing their like. Because the truth is, I don't know how many people are playing Overwatch. Right, like maybe the devs will come back with the like numbers and say, actually, we have more people playing Overwatch than ever. I remain skeptical just based off of AQ times and stuff, but certainly I feel like the interest in Overwatch is lower, like from like Google Trends, viewer numbers.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Just like the feeling that you get, because we're all like embedded in the community, so we get to like feel how people are feeling and the hype around it.
Yes, and like there's the indicators that we can look at are like our YouTube numbers, Twitch numbers that Eskay pointed out, and again like stuff like Google Trends is always illustrative, like to see that like okay, less people are actually searching for Overwatch 2 Season 4 than they did for Season 3 and then Season 2. So it's like there's a vague, there is something tangible there, and maybe the devs will say actually we have loads of players, but from what we can see, it feels that way. So I'm curious what you think the reasons might be, like what could we isolate to say this is maybe what needs to be changed, apart from perhaps, as you guys said, reasons
I mean,
to grind the game.
if I had to say, like, I think Overwatch 2 is gonna. This is what I thought when Overwatch 2 was gonna come out. There's gonna be a big spike. Overwatch 2 is come out. It's huge. Everybody's been waiting for it for like 4 years now, and then it's it's gonna drop off. Obviously, all games do at the beginning. Like you have that spike, and like the reason behind like continual content is, you'd hope that loads of people come to the game and it grows, but more realistically, I think it's just to keep people playing the game and keep them coming back to the shop. And like something like PvE, which is essentially the next stage of Overwatch, is when the next big group of players come, because that's just a completely different audience than we have right now. And like if I try to think about like what are people's complaints, like what I feel like all I see is people whining about balance, and like in my opinion, like it doesn't really matter how much you mess with balance. Like that's not really going to affect the player numbers that much, unless it's like absurd in some way, like one hero just like one shots everyone and that's that. But yeah, I don't think balance affects player retention too much.
I think complaints just depend on what community you're part of and what you consume more than anything, because there's going to be complaints in so many different directions. Like, I think I actually don't want to actually put any community on blast, but maybe certain communities will complain about a certain hero's balance state, and then there's other communities that will complain about monetization nonstop, even 4 months in, like just like, oh, this skin price stuff. And then if you're on Twitter, then it will be like, rank stuff, rank issues. It really just depends on which community you're part of and which ones you decide to lend your ears to, or have the misfortune of lending your ears to. Sorry.
I totally
there's some
agree.
rage. There's some spikes in there.
We can throw more shots. I'm always down to throw more shots at Overwatch community. Like
complain.
Fuck Overwatch Twitter, fuck Overwatch Reddit, or whatever it is. I just wanna bring, because we're talking anecdotally. I want to bring whatever facts we can bring. So I'm just showing on screen now the Google Trends. I don't know if there's any way I can show you guys exactly what I'm seeing.
I got your stream open.
Go on your stream.
Okay, yeah. So I have here 4 games: Overwatch 2, Apex Legends, Valorant, League of Legends. Right. So you can see the last 12 months, the interest in these games. So Overwatch 2, you can see massive spike on October the 4th, basically, when Overwatch 2 launches. Goes ahead of any of these games. But then you can see very, very quickly it drops all the way down to the bottom. And whereas other games, you can see Apex has these spikes, presumably when their seasons launch. And Valorant, actually, you can see despite declined at the same time Overwatch did, but then has been climbing back up. The main thing I want to note here is that there are spikes of interest that go up and down with these games. League of Legends, again, just been despite
Those are new
so
seasons.
Old. Yeah,
those are mistaken.
Yeah, so there are spikes in Apex, in Valorant. Valorant is actually going upwards in general, you can see, and so is League of Legends, right? Not just bursts, but also just general periods where more of their communities or wider communities are interested. The spikes in Overwatch are like negligible. If you look here, like the changes that come up with the new seasons,
that's surprising,
they're like
actually
near negligible. Like barely anything has changed when the new season drops. So I think this speaks to what we're kind of feeling anecdotally, is that like there's no growth of interest here. Like there's nobody who's like checking anymore for new seasons of Overwatch, new content for Overwatch. So like what's going on?
This graph's giving me anxiety, man. I didn't know it was like this.
Oh no.
This is just Google search. Does that link to YouTube search as well? Probably.
It should do.
Maybe.
I mean,
I would assume maybe
regardless
Google
of what,
kind of encapsulates.
Regardless of whatever it looks at, though, that it's the same for all 4 games, right? So like the playing field is even. Just search Overwatch, says my chat. Okay, we'll search just Overwatch instead. Overwatch.
It'll be the same. It always is.
Okay, so that doesn't work. That's even more tragic.
Overwatch is flatlined.
It's just a complete dead game.
We're dead.
I mean, no,
we're dead.
It's the same if you go Overwatch 2 video game. It's just it doesn't make any difference. Google is sophisticated enough for stuff like this. So the point remains that you can see that like the wider public interest, if we were to use Google Trends as any metric of interest, is not there. So this is what I'm kind of alluding to, is like, what is the problem? What is the reason that we're not able to keep those spikes, to keep the interest? Why is it plummeting so fast? And I don't want to turn this into Doomsday podcast, but lest people in comments and stuff. I'm just trying to look at the objective data and say like, what's going on? What can we do to help?
I don't have the best ideas, and it's interesting because I think if you talk to people from those other games, maybe they have better insights. Like, how do they feel about Overwatch? Because to me, like, I enjoy the game. Like, I really enjoy Overwatch still. I play it every day, and like, I have a good time.
Mm-hmm. And that's
I
good.
So it's
think-
really
Yeah, Eskay.
go on.
I think they're just bored. Like they've come to play Overwatch their fair share of times, and they're like, oh, "This is Overwatch. It's kind of fun, I guess."
Okay,
And then
I
they
think
have
the
more fun
question is
playing
though,
other
like,
games.
why are people not getting bored of Valorant? Why are people not getting bored of Apex? Because it's the same
I-
loop in Valorant and Apex, right?
I feel like the esport for Valorant keeps people invested.
True.
I think that's the biggest thing that keeps
Mm.
people playing Valorant. Because like the esport in Valorant is just completely integrated into like its casual player base. Like if you talk to any casual that plays Valorant, they could probably name pros and like who's on what team or whatever,
Oh.
and like who won Masters. But if you asked it, like if you even asked me who won the last Overwatch League, I could not tell you. Like I
You know what?
genuinely could not tell you.
That's a really good point. I barely play Valorant, but I'm on TikTok. I get recommended Valorant stuff all the time. I know about Tens, I know about Coyote. I don't
Yeah.
really know any of the Overwatch League pros
Either.
at all.
KarQ.
Because none of the top pros are like major streamers. But I was gonna say,
Yeah.
when you say like based on interest, I kind of want to go back to the idea of like what community you listen to. I don't know how your Twitter algorithms are, but like obviously ever since they changed it, where you just get like tweets from communities you don't normally
Oh,
follow.
yeah.
I see a lot of people complaining about Apex as well. I feel like any community. I see a lot of people complain about Valorant as well, actually.
True.
A lot of people complain about Apex ranked all the time. Rank systems holding it back.
Well, there's like this big drama with Apex scrims that I keep seeing.
Yeah, like I mean, this is data on YouTube. I'm like, my instinct as well is to like, where is this data limited? Is this just from one platform? What about like TikTok? Like Overwatch TikTok is kind of insane. That's all I'm gonna say. It's a lot bigger than people give credit for it. If this Google Trends is just on like YouTube and like Google searches, then I think it's only like a portion of the picture.
That's
So,
fair. I mean, we know we shouldn't use this as gospel truth. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, anecdotally speaking, is there a way to kind of like check other platforms in terms of like if we search up the hashtag Valorant or hashtag Overwatch on different platforms like TikTok, can we
Well,
actually
you can see the number
could try that.
of TikTok. You can see the number of TikToks that there are for like a hashtag, I think.
Yeah.
Right? But
I mean, I don't actually get Apex content on my TikTok, but I actually get a lot of Valorant content, and I don't even play Valorant that much.
Yeah,
but I do
Valorant
get it. I actually
Seems
get
to just happen on
Yeah.
TikTok.
I don't use it. I should use it.
It's a more clip friendly game anyways is Valorant. Like,
Yes.
you can kind of get those clips that pop off. Like it's harder on Apex, it's kind of like a long grind to win. You're not often killing 5 people at once.
Even Apex is more clippable than Overwatch. I feel like it's so hard to get like pop off clips in Overwatch.
Not
Whereas
if you're a
like in
Widowmaker
Apex
player,
and
but yeah.
go on.
Not if you're a Widowmaker player or a hit scan player in general, but yeah.
Yeah. But like even thinking about go on.
No, you finish that thought, then I'll because I slightly different
Okay.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'll just finish this. So I think that esports definitely affects like how many people are watching the game. I don't think it's like the big thing. I think it impacts it a little bit. And for myself, I've never been able to get into Overwatch League, but I do like watching Apex. I think it's really hype. I think it's pretty easy to follow. And Overwatch League is just like it's just really hard to follow. Like I want to watch when I go watch Overwatch League, I want to watch support. But then they show 3 seconds of support gameplay anytime I tune in. So it's like, I don't really want to watch the whole team play thing. I just want to watch Anna popping off. That's what I'm into.
Yeah, Eskay, did
That's
you
a
want
good
to chime in
point.
off that?
It makes me wonder if I think it's partly the way Overwatch League is set up, and also partly just like how watchable Overwatch is as an esport. 'Cause I would say you have to be so good to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Like even as a top 500 player, there's still things I'm seeing them do that I just don't get, and I can't imagine being like new to the game, not knowing what's going on, or being like silver and trying to watch Overwatch League. It's just a whole bunch of stuff going across the screen. It's like when I watch League, I'm just like, oh, his health bar went to 0. Cool. But
Yeah, I
I'm so
mean,
invested in Valorant and Apex. Like I don't even play those games that much, and I watch their esport all the time.
yeah, I mean, I definitely think that FPS games have that natural advantage, like CS:GO, like Valorant. Like when a CS:GO major is going on, it's really easy, even if you have zero idea what's going on in
Hmm.
a game of CS:GO, to watch the thing and be like, damn, that guy popped off. Like he really did something impressive. And obviously there are a few characters in Overwatch that can do this, but generally it's hard. But even games like League of Legends, Dota, like they are hard to follow. So that's not, if you're watching and you have no idea what you're watching, you're just like, what is that guy used a bunch of colors, the other guy used a bunch of colors, they're screaming about something, one of them guys is dead at the
True.
end of it. Like, what's happening? My assessment, and maybe you'll say I'm a broken record, I just think that these games match their audiences better than Overwatch does. I think KarQ maybe feels me a little bit because he's a YouTube guru and he knows all about, one of the most important principles on YouTube is making sure your content matches your audience. I wonder if the problem with these games that, like, here's my theory, right? And absolutely chime in if you disagree. Or like Apex is a more casual game than Valorant. Like Valorant is at the esports of it, right? So Valorant is like, we target esports. They said from day one. I remember from day one, they're like, this is a game for really
Yeah.
competitive players. You're gonna be a hardcore player. Like, we're not baby gloving anyone here. So you come here for Valorant, you come here for the esports, and they've stuck to that. They've really invested in their esports. Obviously, there's gonna be complaints, but from the outside looking in, they've really done a good job of handling their esports and integrating it, like Eskay said, into their game. So like the audience of the people who knew coming into Valorant, like no one felt lied to or cheated, right? Out of like when they signed up for Valorant, it's like if you weren't ready for a hardcore experience, you're a bit of a clown, like you going into Valorant, because they kind of said it day one. Apex, I would say, is a more casual game than that, right? Apex battle royales in general are by their very design meant to be like a hop in, hop out kind of game, because literally like you go in, fly in, you fight, die, all right, GG, go next game. Like, it's really kind of irrelevant. Like, the wider picture of the game is kind of irrelevant. You're meant to just cycle in and out. Let's drop. I can afford to get one game in, I'll drop, I die. If I don't have long, I'll go YOLO. If I have long, I'll try hard. The problem I find, and we'll get to League of Legends in a second, but the problem I find with Overwatch is, again, it doesn't meet its audience. I think fundamentally, and I've been pondering over this for a little bit myself, I think fundamentally, like, the PvP experiment almost has failed, like, in a way. Like, we haven't fulfilled either audience enough. I don't think we fulfilled the casual audience enough that they continued to want to play, clearly. Like, I just think that the game is too complex for someone who just wants to hop in and out. There's too many things happening, too many things changing. And for someone who cares, who's like a hardcore grinder, we see their complaints on, or what, social media all the time, on Twitter, on Reddit, etc. Like, those people are very unsatisfied with what they perceive as like balance changes or competitive changes or whatever it is. So I feel like we've not met either audience. And again, this is where the PvE comes in. The PvE is the only way to satisfy these audiences. Like, the PvE is the only way to satisfy the people who actually just want to tune in to Overwatch. Because what Overwatch does better than all of these games is the lore, the characters, the feeling of Overwatch is better than the feeling of any of these games. Like, Valorant and Apex, the worlds are non-existent, right? It's like the character worlds, they're trying to flesh them out now, but they're non-existent. Like, the world of Overwatch feels real, it feels fresh. So, like, the PvE will satisfy the interest of what Overwatch promised, I think, of, like, you get to live in the world of Overwatch, you get to live with these characters, you get to see their stories, you get to see them play out. But at the moment, it hasn't satisfied the audience it needs to. I think the difference with League of Legends is that it kind of does all of that in a longer history, right? It's like, yes, the esports is confusing, but they've had like 15 years of people to get used to it. So, like, yeah, okay, they're not targeting a vast swathe of new players, but they don't need to, because they've managed to engage their core audience for long enough that enough keep hopping in and out that, like, they can maintain this momentum. And then when it comes to the casual interest, they have wider media to interest people, right? They have Arcane, they have like their music videos and like K-pop stuff that they do. So there's a lot of like external interest to keep the hype going. And then the game loop has been the same for as long as it can be. So that part is core and keeping people satisfied. So in long and short, that is my feeling. If I had to isolate why I think we're seeing what we're seeing in this graph, and again, KarQ's right to point out that this is a biased picture. This is one picture that we're presenting. I think that Overwatch has not satisfied the audiences it need to, and the best hope it has is PvE, satisfy the casuals, and then kind of pivot harder towards the hardcore with PvP when that split can finally happen. I open the floor to any thoughts.
I think when you brought up like, oh yeah, go ahead, Dan.
Well, I was just pretty much going to agree, to be honest. Go on.
Oh, okay. When you mentioned arcane and like external things like that, like I didn't study like advertising and marketing, but like, you know, you look at Coca-Cola, they do like stingers, and I think that's the term of it. That's the term in advertising, where it's just like Coke isn't trying to like do it to sell you more Coke. It's doing to, well, obviously they want to sell you Coke, but it's just like little subtle reminders. All their commercials and ads are just to remind you that, hey, we exist. And like, you know, the next time you're thirsty, you go drink Coke because you like subconsciously saw their ad, saw the red color, and you associated with it. So when you mentioned League doing like K-pop and like the 3D whatever hollow like dancers and KDA, the K-pop group, and they have Arcane, like all of these things subtly remind me of the, you know, their universe and everything. And Overwatch, I mean, like their characters and everything are so rich. I really do think there's like a missing piece if they don't, you know, keep teasing it and reminding people. Like I think with Lifeweaver, wasn't it just like accidentally leaked like 3 days ahead or something like that, or it was leaked one day before it was like supposed
like
to, obviously.
Hours.
But like overall, that's still like it was like 3 days before the hero came out, and until then we heard nothing. And I think like you need
True.
a bit more budget in like bigger like campaigns, not even just like teases on Twitter. Like Twitter and is just such a small sub community of like the broader casual Overwatch community that exists out there. You need more reach, and like Arcane definitely made me download League. It's actually one of the reasons why I started playing TFT again. I played a bit of League. I'm like, oh okay, and then I saw like Teamfight Tactics also on the same client, and then I actually got back into the game like pretty heavily as well, strictly because of Arcane. And you need like a show on Netflix or a show on Disney Plus or something. Like you need more advertising. It matters subconsciously. It really does. It does. Yeah. The conversion is slow, but it's methodical, and it does matter.
And it's crazy that we didn't even know his name until like the week that was 3 days before his release.
Yeah.
We knew nothing.
And I think campaigns like that whole Sombra thing they did early in Overwatch were like, I mean, I certainly didn't follow it, but I knew a lot of people who were so invested in it, and it generated engagement. You just need to generate hype and engagement in all different forms and avenues and platforms.
It's interesting because I wish I could see how the other communities see Overwatch, because I remember when Valorant dropped this new agent, like I don't follow much of Valorant. Like I vaguely try to keep in touch as a content creator of like what's happening in other games, but like as a person, I'm not super interested. But like Flat says they think we're ass in my chat. Well, thanks. That's nice to know. But like, so you know, I saw the drop, the way they dropped the new hero, right? So like they did this like thing where he's like a TikTok influencer and he's like recording a TikTok, and like then he's dyeing his hair and stuff. So I remember seeing it come up on my timeline, and people were really interested by. It's not just the drop of the hero, but it's like understanding the culture almost of like the audience that we're targeting, and the audience that we're targeting are heavily on TikTok. So like here's our new hero kind of releasing via TikTok in a way, right? So it's like I think these little things, and that's why Riot are so successful. Like they're very good at these things of like, you know, maybe you will view it as like boomers selling to zoomers, but that is still what it, like, you know, they're doing it well. They're kind of not just the game, but also how it's marketed is in touch with its audience, right? Dan?
Yeah, for sure.
Just curious if you have any wider thoughts.
I don't know. I think you just hit the nail on the head, so I don't really have much to add, to be honest.
You need to evolve your what's it called? What's it called to get like a new target audience? There's a word for it. Evolve how you can like capture new audiences. For all the old heads that are leaving Overwatch, you need to have a higher new like a larger number of newer players entering than the people leaving. And the newer generation realistically is Zoomers, which is why I'm still like I think when you mentioned the new Valorant hero doing the TikTok thing, I think it's important because they know their audience. A lot of their audience is on TikTok. That's like the new generation of gamers, right? And in order to do that, you kind of do have to cater to it, right? Yeah.
The churn, right, is what you're talking about. The churning of like your
Churning.
player base.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
'Cause
people
things
come in,
will-
people come out.
Yes, exactly. And you have to recognize that and adapt to it, right? Like even for me, like this is just purely from a content perspective. Like I've had to like pivot and evolve my stuff quite a bit as well. Like some of you guys are like the older Overwatch community. They know for example, my one tip hero series, but I'm going to be honest, that's like my worst performing content now.
Really?
Because, like, yeah, by far. It's because like people, it's not acquiring the newer audience. The younger generation likes the shorter versions. Now I'm doing like the tip stuff in shorter formats and throwing them on TikTok, and they're killing it there. But the longer version on YouTube is just like, it's just the attention span. That's just the new generation just doesn't like sitting through the long video like that anymore. And you have to recognize that and adapt.
So do you find success with other things on YouTube now, or is it just like YouTube long form is going downhill, or is it like different things are working now?
It's not necessarily like long form being the bad part, but long form maybe for like guides and tips. Like how many Rhyme guides have you seen over the past like 6 years, 7 years that like do you need more of that realistically? I mean, I'm sure there will be a small audience that likes it, but if we're trying to capture the biggest market share, you need to do what's working. And right now it's the short, fast, consume it and then move on kind of thing. And that's why YouTube Shorts is pushing so hard. That's why TikTok is like crazy. Like I'm all aboard. I was very like, I'm not gonna download TikTok. It's just like, you know, younger generation.
I think we were all there
dances.
like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, but now
I'm still
like
there. I won't do it.
I still
there?
do
You
hate,
won't do
I
it?
still hate TikTok, but yeah.
you have like, but
I'm
that's
gonna spend like 4 hours on it every day. I know it's so important, but I don't want to do it. I have a
Yeah.
TikTok editor, but I hate doing it.
the viewing patterns and behavior has changed, and people just want like short, quick stuff. So like, I've just converted all my long stuff. Like I'll still put like a one tip video out for the people that enjoy it, but like I find that most of my success now comes from converting that into, you know, a tip for each hero. I'll turn 36 tips because there's 36 heroes into 36 shorts or TikToks, and they just infinitely capture more people than ever. Which is actually part of the reason why I think my stream has grown a lot rather than the opposite. My YouTube content for the one tip stuff has gone down, but because like I'm on TikTok and capturing a newer audience and I plug my stream there on TikTok, now my stream is growing like crazy. Actually a case study, it was Aspen's stream's been growing a lot because I keep getting her Lifeweaver TikToks, and I checked out her Lifeweaver content for the past like week, and it's like everything is getting so many views on Lifeweaver, and then I just saw her stream numbers recently and they're just like exploding right now. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It really matters. You have to keep up if you want to like stay in this kind of business and game. You have to adapt. That's it.
And again,
Very true.
maybe Overwatch realized that a long time ago, and that's why they're doing PvE, but it's just not ready yet. So
yeah, PvE will do it. Well, I just wanted to mention now Overwatch knows TikTok and this kind of short stuff is important, and they're really pushing that right now. Actually, if you haven't noticed,
I haven't seen the TikToks, but I saw they like used a creator from TikTok to post on Twitter of a TikTok style video. So I can see that they're definitely trying to do it.
Mm-hmm. And there's also, well, I mean, Overwatch just made their TikTok when Overwatch 2 came out, and like it's already I think it already like surpassed their Twitter followers or something like that. Let me see. Yeah, no, they're not. I lied. 780K followers, but like each one is doing pretty well. Like this is 1 million more views per TikTok than they would have not gotten otherwise if they weren't on this platform. Like it's important. Anyways, that's all I have to say about that.
I think it's a very valuable perspective, which is that like, because you know, people might listen to me like, wow, we were just talking about content creator stuff, but that's a microcosm of what it's like for a game as well, right? It's like essentially what we're talking about is like a live service again, right? It's like you're adapting to the audience, to the game, to the market. And the way KarQ is talking about, okay, well, my audience was this, because I get this question a lot as well on a smaller scale, obviously, than KarQ. Like a lot of people, I started as an educational content creator, and a lot of people are like, why don't you make educational content anymore, CB? And I'm like, because nobody's interested. Because the audience of Overwatch isn't interested again, this is why I was talking about. It's not there. Nobody's really interested in who plays Overwatch as a I want to grind and get better at this game. Like that audience is so much smaller than what it was at times in Overwatch 1 that it's, as a content creator, it's pointless. So as a game creator, it's obviously also pointless to like try and target that audience because we haven't matched that desire, that alignment. Again, if someone wants a hardcore FPS experience, they go elsewhere. They don't go to Overwatch. So trying to target that audience as a creator or as a game developer doesn't make sense anymore, right? So like the need to adapt is very pressing in a live service model because all the other games are constantly shifting and evolving. They're constantly recognizing like where the new audience is, because we've kind of, it kind of goes unsaid, but we've gone through like almost a generation of gamers, right? It's been 6 years, but like that's a long time in gaming. Like that's a set of people who got into gaming, went through college and now have real jobs and don't have time to game anymore, right?
Yeah.
So like we've gone through a cycle of people who've come and played this game and stopped, and now there's a new cycle of people who are young, who are like 15 to 21 or something, who are looking for a new game and are finding for whatever reason that like Overwatch is not capturing their interest the way it could. So yeah, the need to adapt, I think, is probably the TLDR of this section. Dan or Eskay, do you have anything you want to add?
I mean, just a random thought on that note. Like when I do play Valorant, it's instantly noticeable just from voice comms that is a much younger audience.
Yes.
Actually, a kind of funny story. Was playing Valorant the other day with another 30-year-old guy, and we had someone on our team, and they were like 12 years old or something. And they were asking questions to us. I'm 33 now. She was asking questions like, "Do you go to school still?" Like, she's like completely just not understanding what age we are, And it's like you don't get that in Overwatch. I don't feel like I've run into someone that young in Overwatch for ages, if even at all.
Yeah, anecdotally, 100%.
I feel like you might on console. Like I don't have any
maybe.
console ideas, but like I do think like they made the good approach with the free to play console accessibility. That barrier to entry is gone, and I think that's really good for like raw volume. But like maybe a bigger push to continue to capture like a newer, younger audience to like offset the turnover, or the churnover, whatever we call it.
Well, the console
I feel like a lot of
community... Go ahead, KarQ, finish.
Go ahead. Oh no, that's pretty much my thought. I was just gonna add like random fluff to it, but yeah, that's it.
Well, because I had the console community on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and they were not very happy. I mean, again, maybe they are biased because they're all like top 500, but the console community felt like they're like, because there's a lot of console specific bugs and issues that haven't been fixed in a while, and they feel like the console community gets left behind in many ways. Like they're like, well, like we have these bugs that don't get fixed. Certain things are inaccessible. Like for example, their frame rates drop after every single game, or that was a problem. I don't know if it's fixed now, but it was a problem where like after every single game they had to restart the console because like the frames would get so bad that you had to like restart it, otherwise you'd just be having massive frame drops. So like I guess issues like this are also something to bring in mind in the context of the conversation. But yeah, Eskay, do you have anything you want to add?
I heard that Lifeweaver is like really difficult to play on controller because you just don't have enough buttons.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got nothing else. I'm like out of my league with this stuff.
No, it's, I mean, again, your perspective is as valuable as anyone's on this, Eskay, because you are a consumer of the game, and so we're talking in how people are playing the game. So like your experience is very valuable. Like how have you felt just playing? Like what has been your personal experience playing games in general?
I'm like super hardcore with Overwatch ranked. I don't really have a good perspective on what it's like to be casual, and I probably should do some more research on that, and especially I should install TikTok, but I just like don't scroll through TikTok. I just grind ranked every single day, and as someone who grinds ranked every single day, it feels more and more like the game isn't being made for people like us anymore. If that makes sense. Like with how bad just the competitive system has been for people at like top 500 and how long it's been without any meaningful changes or fixes. Like when I was doing the matchmaking interview, I was like, yes, I was talking about the peak thing, or if you get a peak at the start of the season versus later in the season, and they're like, oh, we didn't really think about that. And I was like, it's been 6 months. How could you not have thought about that? I've said that so many times in the creator Discord. Like,
Because it's not
yeah,
the game. The game isn't made for.
it's just not made for people like me anymore. I
But
guess.
the approach, but like as much as it hurts, that's probably the smartest business decision. To be
But,
honest
yeah,
with you, it
true.
really sucks. I'm not saying I like it or like any of us like it, but that is the business model. You do need to capture the newer people. You're not making it to please the current people. You're doing it to get raw volume and new entries, new subscribers. That's kind of like why Netflix, the whole like increasing the price or whatever. I think they did it like last year, and people are like, "Well, I'm gonna unsubscribe. It's so expensive." Or they had like a free model. They understand that they're gonna lose old like subscribers, but like okay, maybe that's not the best example because I'm talking about numbers, but like they calculate it where it's like they'll still make more profit or whatever. So I guess to compare that to Overwatch, they just want to get more casual audience, and I think maybe they are. Like, we don't have the numbers, we don't know for sure, but I just saw someone in your chat saying they're all the new generation just doesn't consume on YouTube. They're on TikTok, and they actually are.
Yeah.
Maybe they're playing quick play and they're on console. Like, there's one interesting thing is like I got a lot of views on like my season 4 change, and I'm like, are these actually old Overwatch? Like, are these active Overwatch players, or are they like casual players, or some people who have like looked at it before? And that's what the majority was. It's people who aren't actually actively playing the game, who somehow saw the video, and then they saw the thumbnail and they just wanted to comment and complain. That's how a lot of the comments were.
Wait, how do you know if they're not actively playing?
Because I hit like normie algorithm is what I like to call it, which is not like the Overwatch community. It was like the broader audience. You can kind of tell
yeah.
based on like click-through rates and the
Yeah, I
amount of
think it's
likes
really
and
low.
engagement. Yeah, that's one big tell. And then I filter by new comments, and it's just like, oh, this is why I quit. It's just
Yeah.
there's a lot of people who have tried and touched the game, but until they actually don't know where I'm going with this thought. Okay, come back to me.
Well, I guess those players aren't allured back, perhaps, is what you're trying to...
Yeah.
I just
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
trash it.
Yeah,
They're, like,
like
watching it
there's
and
like, again,
it's
Overwatch
like-
has ridiculous... Sorry, Eskay, you finish. I shouldn't have
No,
interrupted you.
that's all I had to say. You go.
No, actually, say it again, because I didn't hear it, and I want to hear what you had to say.
Oh, I feel like people like that are going into it with a negative opinion. They want to complain and they pick out every part. Although the big changes, yeah.
Well, I mean, this goes back to what I said a while back, which is like there's only so many times you can piss people off, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's one of the problems with Overwatch 1 is that it has a lot of baggage. It doesn't have perhaps the goodwill that a lot of other, like in the past Blizzard games have had. And obviously there's a wider ecosystem of Blizzard getting shit on in general, and it's popular to not like Activision Blizzard, but like the goodwill factor is definitely gone. Because you look at something like CSGO announcing CSGO 2, and again, this goes back to our discussion on the wider climate of gaming. I was saying this in the last podcast, but I can see that a lot of games have caught on that they periodically do need to reinvent themselves, right? Like CSGO announcing CSGO 2 feels like some sort of very hilarious nod to Overwatch going Overwatch 2, because at the time everyone was like, this is so dumb and so silly, but one thing you got to give the devs credit for is they recognize that they like what Overwatch 1 was not enough. Like it wasn't gonna continue on forever. How much ever we may retrospectively be like it was a bad decision the way they did it. Maybe Overwatch would have been thriving regardless if they just kept dropping heroes, but I think they were right to recognize that like it will not go on forever. We do need to reinvent this game in some way, and that's where the PvE came in. So like it is the case that people do need to reinvent their game, but I think CS, for example, has that love, the goodwill, where people are like, oh, I have fond memories of CS, and if they drop a CS2, I'm definitely going to come back and play. Like, I'm definitely going to come and play, and I feel like that goodwill, and this is intangible. This isn't even a what can the devs have done about this, like, because it's not really their fault that people got pissed off. Well, the current devs, it's not their fault that Overwatch got pissed, like people got pissed off with Overwatch 1, and now the reach of Overwatch is huge, right? Like there is still so many people who know Overwatch in the past, who've played Overwatch in the past, as KarQ attests to. Like, his numbers, his videos still do numbers. There are still, Overwatch videos that do get like periodically million+ views. So there is like that interest, but it's like now like a sort of how you look back at a relationship that went sour almost, right? Where people like look back and their like, you know, I don't know where I'm going with this metaphor, but the photo gallery pops up an image of you and your ex a long time ago, and you look back and you're like, ha, I'm glad I left that shit show, right? And you like swipe past it, you're like, yeah, I'm done with that. I feel like that's the audience we're left with almost, where like, you know, if KarQ's got a video and it's like, these are all the new changes for Overwatch at the moment, people click on it because they're like, what's going on with Overwatch? Who's she dating now? And you look at it and you're like, oh, that guy? Pfft, I'm better than that guy. Like, pfft, downgrade. Right? So like they watch the video and they're like, Brig buff again? Big shield? Like, which is something we can talk about in a second, because, you know, we did say that maybe it's not as strong as what we thought, but like, you know, people are like, Brig buff again? They buff Brig? This is why I left this game. You know, I had Eddie the Chump in my chat the other day, who, you know, one of the 3 original creators of Your Overwatch, right? Which was, and I think still is, the most subscribed YouTube channel for Overwatch. And, you know, he was in my chat. He loves Valorant now, and he was coming in. He was like, yeah, like that's the sentiment I always get from him. And he's always like, yeah, this game is such a clown show. Like, I can't believe they did this again. You know, I can't believe they did that again. And that feeling of like, did that again, I think hits the like the audience that we left behind almost, of people who were just like, they wouldn't even give Overwatch a fair shot, I guess. Like, they wouldn't even look at it objectively to be like, what is actually happening with Overwatch? Oh, the Brig buff isn't actually as bad as it maybe seemed. Like, it's actually not that impactful. Like, she's kind of here nor there. They just see it and they're like, this shit, I don't know what they're doing. This is like a clown fiesta. So yeah, I feel like over the years we've accumulated too much ill will. And again, I can only really see the PvE being any way to solve that.
They nail it out of the park with PvE. They have to.
I'm
It's over.
praying. I hope they have like a lot of replayability. Like, if they have a timer for PvE levels and we have speed runs and like a whole speedrun community, that would be really cool. I hope
that
it's
would be
not
cool.
just like the archives events where you play through it and you beat it and it's like, oh, that's pretty cool.
It can't be like KarQ said. It can't be. It has to be something next level, especially at this point with how long we've waited. Like, it just has to be something amazing.
And if there are
kind of shot themselves in the foot by like taking so long, unfortunately. Like, it's not all under their control, of course. Like, all circumstances happened, I understand, but they shot themselves in the foot by like waiting so long. There's too much anticipation, so the expectations are way too high right now. And I think people might be disappointed because their expectations were too high to begin with. That's my biggest worry. Where it's like, you want to be what's that phrase? You want to under promise and over deliver, but because like we waited so long, it's gonna be a tough crowd to please. That's for sure.
I think that goes back to the ill will that SVB was talking about. It's not just Overwatch, it's Blizzard as a whole. Like, I've been the biggest Blizzard fanboy forever. Like, even when I was like 10, I was playing like Warcraft 3. You know, I've been streaming and YouTubing for 10 years. I started on StarCraft 2, and when StarCraft 2 came out, like, I was hyped. I loved Blizzard at the time. And like, you know, I still play their games, but I don't feel the same way about Blizzard. I'm not like, oh, they're going to release a game. I know it's going to be amazing because it's by Blizzard. I know it's going to be polished. It's just not the same anymore. Like, I'm still scared about Diablo 4.
Me too.
Yeah.
Why is it $70? Sorry, that's off top.
No, it's relevant. It's relevant to the conversation.
$70 is the base price. Then it goes up if you want to play early, which, let's be real, if you want to play Diablo 4, you want to play early, so you're paying even more.
Yeah, the Blizzard fanboy thing is like definitely a thing of the past, because I'm 21 and I like that concept is foreign to me. Like, Overwatch 2 or Diablo 3 were the first Blizzard games that I played, and it's just been downhill from there. They weren't like amazing to me or anything like that before, and the reputation they have just keeps getting worse and worse.
Yeah, I was similar to Dan, actually, because the first game I really played was Warcraft 3. I loved the custom games. I loved Dota. You know, it was like StarCraft. Whoa, okay, I'm gonna play StarCraft 2. Amazing. I played the campaign of StarCraft 1, but the StarCraft 2, I'm like, yeah. You know, I played Hearthstone for the same reason, because it's like, oh, it's a Blizzard game. World of Warcraft, like, fond memories of my childhood. Oh no, the whole reason I got into Overwatch, I would have never gotten into Overwatch had it not been a Blizzard title. Had it not just been like, oh, Blizzard released a shooter, I want to try it because it's Blizzard released it. And obviously, like, I'm not going to get at the devs for this. Like, this is, again, we spoke at length, like, the community is involved, the market is involved, so they had to go free to play. So they couldn't take the let's really release a polished game. Like, we're past that, like, model. Like, they could, if they were to do that, they wouldn't have been able to compete with Apex and Valorant. If they had been who releases Elden Ring? Like, From Soft something?
From Soft?
FromSoft. Like they have that approach, right? Where they're like, we're only going to release a game every so often, but it's going to be, top tier, and you guys know it, we know it, love us. But there's a limit to that. Like as a business model, there's a limit to like how much money that makes. Whereas we're in Activision Blizzard world, right? And that's like make as much money as you can, compete with Fortnite, compete with Valorant, compete with Apex, right? Get all the money all the time. So I get that Overwatch can't, like it has to evolve to meet that. And to some of the devs listening, and the devs often listen, we're not trying to put pressure on you. So this can be quite intimidating listening to so many people be like, the PvE has to deliver, man. They can't fuck it up now. It has to deliver. Like they spent so long. So I understand there must be a tremendous pressure if you're a developer at Blizzard, who's been, again, for many reasons, this content has been, sat there for so long, and you want it to be good. And what I will say is that, again, I just think that there's so much that Overwatch does right. It's just a real shame that it hasn't clicked in a better way. Like, I was just thinking the other day, I was like, there's so many like these fringe elements, well, fringe to us, but core to the game. It's like the sound design, the visual design. Like I was like sitting there with Lifeweaver, and if you just like throw a pedal at someone, the healing thing, you throw the little healing thing, it's like a little tiny spark. If it's just hit it at 10, it's like a little tiny spark. It looks very underwhelming as it goes and tracks them and hits them. You charge it to 65, it's like this big glowing thing, and it like vroom, and there's like a big sound effect, and it like smacks the person and it glows. And I was like, that's such a nice little thing. Like Blizzard does this kind of stuff so well. Like it looks so great when you heal someone properly with the full max thing. And the sound design is amazing. Again, like I remember towards the end of Overwatch 1, I casted Overwatch blindfolded. And I was able to because all the sounds told me exactly what was happening, right? I was like, okay, I can hear that, this guy's just gone here. There's a footstep there. This ability has just been used over there. I think this guy is like this distance away roughly, because you can tell all these things, right? So like all these things are amazing. So much better than like some of the other competitors. Like sometimes you play Apex or Valorant, and these elements feel like, skeletal. They feel like not really properly done. Like for so long, people have complained about Apex's sound design, right? Like the footstep
Sound,
debacle, and like this, that, the other stuff that Overwatch never misses on, and Blizzard often, get right. But it's just like, it's just that like other elements that it seems to be missing right now. It's like that core gameplay element that seems to be missing, and that's where, again, Copium, PvE, you would think would succeed, because it doesn't need to have a great balanced PvP game. It just needs to feel great, look great, and the story has to be great, which usually has been the case. So, I get that there's a lot of pressure, but I think that is stuff that Blizzard get right. I don't really have a larger point, but I do think that's stuff they get right.
And you get like no hero does hero, or no game does heroes like Overwatch does. The Valorant agents don't nearly have as much personality and aren't like as fleshed out as Overwatch. And same with Apex.
I mean, Overwatch to me still has the best like engine of any modern first-person shooter. Like the fact that it looks this good, everything's so fluid, everything feels so fluid. But then on like a modern PC, you're pushing still 600 FPS. Like that's crazy that you can even do that with how good it looks.
Yeah, the game actually looks way better than people give credit for. If you crank up all the settings, it's actually really nice, I will say. And it's like, I remember when people saw Overwatch 2, they're like, oh, it looks like the same game, everything looks the same, but really it doesn't. You ever look back at the old practice range, or like old Kings Row from Overwatch 1? They really did step it up, and it's like the little details to them they've always done well. The visual effects, but yeah, like I don't really have anything to add. I suppose I'm kind of just echoing like the little details they've always been great at, but core fundamentals is like a missing piece, and I don't know who's in charge of that, and who calls the shots on all that, but
yeah. I was fully expecting a KarQ plug there of like, if you play on NVIDIA GeForce Reflex, you too can get yourself to 600.
They're not paying for this podcast, so no, I won't do that.
Okay. Well, hit me up, NVIDIA, if you need. All right, hit me up.
Yeah. Hit up SPV instead, and then he'll do it.
Yeah. Then we get an organic plug. Okay. Any more thoughts from you guys on sort of the general thing before we can kind of bring the scale back to season 4? We can talk a little bit of like the gameplay elements and then the patch and stuff, but. Any more sort of, while we're on the wider topics of Overwatch in general, or just the climate of FPS games, any other unexpressed thoughts that you'd like to express?
I think in terms of you talking about the pressures on the developers, I do think they've done a really good job of like pushing out information. Like we have way more communication now. We get Aaron Keller tweets. We got nothing like that before. So I think they're doing a lot to try and like repair, even, and maybe they don't see it as repairing, but I think a lot of the community does. They are doing a lot. So hopefully that like hits some kind of critical mass at some point, and it's like, oh yeah, they do communicate with us all the time. You know, they're talking to the creators, they're getting them updated. Like that stuff did not happen in the past. So they are doing
True.
a lot, which is good. And hopefully that actually shows eventually and people start to see it as a really good thing.
I feel like Overwatch 2 has only been uphill. Like they're getting so much better with communication, with bounce and whatever, with everything, but the numbers aren't reflecting that, I guess.
Yeah.
The numbers that
like
we
the
see
general
aren't
thing.
affecting
Yeah,
it.
the
and
numbers that we
sentiment.
see.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
We really
No,
don't know.
general
Maybe
sentiment.
it is a lot more successful in people. Was there a report about like revenue? I mean, that's a different topic. That's revenue is completely different than active player base or MAUs, monthly active users. But was there something about like the game actually being quite successful monetarily, at least? Like they actually
It was,
did make
yes.
a...
I remember the report towards the end of the year. Like it made a lot of money, a lot of money. I don't remember the number. I remember just being like,
Nice.
it's a lot of
Right.
money.
That's a good thing, but like distribution of the funds and budget on, you know, reinvestment back, that's a different topic. But is it making money? Yes. Is that a success in there from that lens? Sure. Now, hopefully, those funds get distributed to a point where we can have more resources and budget put into. Like I'm advocating for like a cinematic or like a whole like Netflix show. Like I really think those are
That'd be
very,
so
very powerful
cool.
avenues to
So
capture a
good.
whole new audience. Yeah, and they have the universe for it. They have the culture, the richness in the characters. Like everything is like set up for them. Like there is a lob right there. All they gotta do is dunk it or smash it, whatever. Volleyball, basketball, it's there. Come on.
This is funny because I feel like the community's been crying this for years. I wonder how the devs feel, because I don't think we ever publicly spoke about whether they're gonna get like a Netflix show. At least in there was like
they
a vague
haven't.
thing a few years ago when it was announced that they had a Netflix anime or something. There was like some rumors of it, but since then, I don't think it's ever been publicly talked about. I'm sure the devs like wanted to go ahead.
I'm sure they
Matthew.
know, or maybe there is, and it's been cooking for a while, and it's like taken 2-3 years, and they
Maybe.
can't say anything about it. Maybe, but like, it's important. There's a reason why like Pokemon is the #1 media franchise in the world. It's not even about it started off as just a show, and then it evolved into like a million things outside of the game, cafes and merchandise and plushies and cards. So Overwatch just started as just a game, but you have a whole universe. How do you evolve this universe into a bunch of different titles? That's what kind of Riot did, right? They started with the League of Legends universe. They had the cinematic, K-pop, new game based on the universe, Teamfight Tactics. Wasn't there like a fighting game based on the lore, their universe?
They got the
Overwatch
card
has
That's
game.
still to be released. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
they have
coming.
Runeterra, the card game. Like they know like that's their universe. They can do a lot with this IP. Pokemon had their IP. They did a lot with it. Overwatch is still in its bubble, and they need to. The higher like executives, Activision, Blizzard, ABK needs to recognize how powerful this IP really is, and the characters and the everything behind it, and really dive into different forms of mediums with it. I really think there's so much untapped potential, and my wishful thinking is they already have. It's just unannounced right now, and it's just in the works. Finally, hopefully.
Yeah, and again, when I say I hope so, I feel like people in chat or listening in YouTube or whatever, wherever the platform to listen on will be like copium, like you content creator copying again. But like, yeah, I mean, it must be infuriating if you are a dev and you do know that there's something in the works, and you're just like the community's like yelling every so often, "Where's our Netflix show? Where's our Netflix show?" And they're like, "It's been in development," you know. Because to be fair, like
They just can't buy
Arcane,
them,
yeah, maybe they just can't say it because like Arcane, obviously, like compared to how long League of Legends has been out, took so long to come out, right? Like if you think about it.
Did they
but of
ever
course-
like say when they started developing Arcane? That'd be an interesting case study to see when they started marketing Arcane
So,
versus
I can
when
actually-
it actually.
I can actually tell you a little bit tidbit because I got to interview the creators of Arcane one time for my side job.
Whoa.
Yeah, so I actually got to talk to the creators, and they told me that basically it was a passion project. Like it was just two people who worked on League of Legends, and they just were like two friends, and they happened to be like, "Hey, you know, we should write like an Arcane, like we should write like a show, we should write like a TV show. And so they first spent like a couple of years basically writing it for themselves, and like in like a very small group of people, they would like share it and be like, what do you guys think, what do you guys think? And then when they had like a product that they were like, okay, wait, this is like a script that we're really happy with, they took it to like the higher ups, and the higher ups were like very happy with it. So that is the story of how it came to be. So it wasn't like a corporate decision. It wasn't like someone in Riot was like, we need a TV show. It was just these guys who like were developers of League of Legends and loved it, and were like, hey, let's make this thing. And then they took it, and they said that they were like, they said that they were really grateful that the higher ups were very responsive, because I think probably that is the key, because you can probably have like developers come up with great ideas, but then someone along the chain is like, this is dumb, why would we want a TV show, right? And they block it. So
Workshop was like that, right? Like that was just, I think it was
passion
just
project,
yeah. And Workshop's awesome.
A lot of things come from
Workshop is awesome.
mods. A lot of things. The games, Dota was, the whole MOBA genre is made from passion and just like a mod. I think like games like DayZ was a mod for a different game that just became its own living thing. So like, you know.
Yep.
Yeah. What were we discussing? We were discussing the wider media. Yeah. So like, I was gonna say that, like, you know, when we were at the summit in California, and I actually got to talk to one of the higher up execs of Blizzard, like higher than Aaron. We're talking, and the reason why I came back so optimistic was because I really got the sense that they are invested in the wider ecosystem. Like, you know,
so maybe they are cooking something.
Well, again, the hope. This is why, because if you, you know, not to bring up dark times, but I was not an Overwatch content creator at that point in time. When I turned up, I was kind of thought I would quit. So, you know, the reason one of the reasons I came back, partly because of the love of 2 out of 3 of these. Sadly, I didn't get to meet Dan, but the love from Eskay and KarQ was part of the reason why I came back, and others like them. But talking to the person I was talking to, I would try not to drop names because maybe that'll get me in trouble. But you know, the person I was talking to was really talking about, like, we're invested in the big picture, the long term. We're talking like 10 plus years down the line of what we're planning, what we're doing, what we're thinking. So like they do have, from what I've heard, you know, lots of big picture ideas. They're not chumps. They're not like, well, let's just release Overwatch 2 and we're done with it. Like, they have these plans. We just haven't seen them yet. And, you know, obviously the longer you go on, the more it becomes an act of faith to keep believing, and copium, like when is it going to come? What's going to happen? But like, there is like, they understand, surely the way we understand it, the wider ecosystem of Overwatch is its strength. It's not actually just the game.
Yeah,
it's the
missing
world.
IP. Yeah. Wait, so do you have data on or when Arcane was in development, or how long it took for them?
I don't remember off the top of my head like when they started making it, but again, they were like, it was like, like 6 or 7 years ago is my gut instinct, is what I think, like when they started.
See, yeah, this stuff takes a long time. So maybe when Overwatch 2 2019, they announced Overwatch 2, maybe they were cooking up something, and we're, you know, 3-4 years in, maybe in 2. Still a long time away to think like that.
2026 confirmed.
2026, we're gonna have.
Well,
it
again,
on
it can be faster.
HBO.
It can be faster. It can be slower, right? Because again, in the case of Arcane, it took a couple years of just developing it themselves, right? Like for the 2 creators who made it. I'm trying to think. The Christian Link and Alex Yee, I think, are their names. Whereas Cyberpunk got an anime off the rip, right? So like, that was a much quicker process. So it really, we don't know. Like, it could be anything. It could be coming, you know, maybe they've like planned it to drop sometime in simultaneous with the PvE, because that would make sense. Or it could be that it's still another 2 years away, 3 years away. I don't know.
Or maybe not a show, maybe like a movie. But I mean, the World of Warcraft movie apparently didn't hit too hard when it first came out. But
I enjoyed that movie, man. No one else did.
I think I watched it, but I didn't play WoW at the time, so I couldn't get it. But I think what Arcane did a good job of is like, it had its own storytelling that you could understand. Like, a movie is hard to convey and get to be the background of all the characters in that short period of time. But versus Arcane, they're able to build the characters even if you've never played the game before. You get a feeling of, you know, who Jinx is and Vi and all that stuff. So,
well, I think
that's how I felt.
I think the success of Arcane, I didn't watch the Warcraft movie because of all the bad reviews people had given, but like, I think the difference is, if you took anything that gets an adaptation, it's like Arcane is clearly a labor of love. Like they made it because they loved the world and they wanted to make it. It was not a top-down corporate decision. Whereas you look at something like, I don't know, the live adaptation of like Avatar: The Last Airbender, and you're like, well, this feels manufactured, right? Or sometimes games make a movie and it feels like it's a glorified version to sell toys, right? It's like, or it's like it's like a product first. It's like, come play our game, come buy our product. So I do think like Overwatch, hopefully whenever it does do its version, it's out of a desire to tell the story of Overwatch, not out of a desire to sell Overwatch. Eskay, you've been quiet for a while. Anything you want to add on this discussion?
Dude, it's hailing so loud. I can't hear I can't hear what you guys are saying, and I have my thing at max volume. Can you hear it in my mic?
I can
It's
hear it
so
actually. I hear the hail.
So loud. Oh my god. I'm sorry.
Are you gonna survive, Eskay? I'm concerned for your safety now. Where the hell are you, in the tundra?
I'm gonna survive, but I don't know if my car is. It's parked outside.
Damn.
It's starting to sound like you're one of those weather reporters out in the hail. Like
Yeah.
you're slowly moving towards that.
Oh my god. No, I'm sorry.
Behind
I
me is the
can't
big
hear
storm.
Well,
Okay,
I hope.
I go back to mute.
No, it's okay. Well, I hope it clears up for you, Eskay. We'll go back to our traffic reporter, Eskay, in a moment when we'll see if it's cleared up or not. But yeah, in the meantime, any other thoughts on the kind of wider media or anything like that again before we go back to the smaller scale Overwatch discussions?
Well, keep making money, Overwatch, and please invest it in the right ways. Thank you. That's all I have to say. Big corp.
Agreed.
Big corp Blizzard.
Invested in me. Give it all to me.
True.
Nice. Is the hail cleared up, Eskay? Sound better there.
I think it's slowing down. It's slowing down. Yeah, I can hear it again.
It doesn't sound like you're slowly drowning now, so that's good. Okay. So let's wind it back. Then we've gone very big picture. Let's wind it back very small picture of the Overwatch patch and the season 4 gameplay as we kind of head to our concluding section. Yeah, I mean, not a huge amount of changes, a lot of tweaks here or there. I don't think anything game changing to my, again, I haven't played comp, so maybe I'm wrong, but nothing crazy game changing to my knowledge. I'll go to comp resident expert Eskay first. Eskay, in terms of the balance patch and sort of the game feel of season 4, how has it felt for you?
I think it's still too early to tell. It feels the same. Every hero seems viable, but I'm sure once everyone decides on the meta and starts only running that, it's gonna be, oy. I will say Widow and Mercy ruined the game for me. Like, I have exponentially more fun when neither one of those is in my lobby, and then as soon as one of those is on the other team, I'm just bored.
Can you elaborate a little bit? Because I've seen Mercy critters, namely SKSD and Neandra, kind of complain that they feel like new Mercy is not as good. It's kind of boring. What is it that you found kind of boring against Mercy?
I think her movement is still really good. Like, it might be not as fun for them, but they're still pulling like 2 or 3 deaths per game. Like, it's impossible to kill them. But the thing that is so unfun for me is if I'm a DPS player and I'm playing against another DPS player that has a Mercy pocket, it's hailing really hard again. I'm very sorry. It's very difficult for me to do anything. Like, I just kind of auto lose if I'm playing them. And then every time I finally kill the big boy, the raid boss, and then they get instantly resurrected and I can't do anything about it. And then Widow is just like, I don't know. She gets one shot, and especially on Widow, she one shots you, and especially on Widow maps where there's no risk for her, like unless my entire team comp is changed. Especially as a support player, what am I gonna do? Like, do I out heal the one shot? You can't. Like, yeah. Do I go hunt them down as Lucio? I can't. Like, she's gonna get healed, or maybe they have a Mercy, so I finally kill the Widow, and then she gets resurrected. Life is good, but if those two aren't in my game, I have a lot of fun.
Interesting. Dan, from whatever quick play perhaps experience you've had, how's it felt?
Well, I can touch on ranked. I played today. I think that all those little tweaks they did to ranked were really good. Again, I think they're only tweaks, so like it doesn't fundamentally change the experience, but I do think like it's moving in the right direction. I guess nice to see the percentage that kind of brings us back to SR a little bit, so you have more understanding of where you actually are. And like unless you're top of GM1, you know if you're going up or down, which is really good. I like that. I like
True.
the little rank symbol you have. I didn't think I was gonna like it, but like loading into a game and seeing like the average rank of the game, I like seeing that. I think I would still prefer to see everyone's rank, but like it's one step in the right direction. You can now see your losses again, another step in the right direction. It's like we're slowly getting back all this transparency that is really good for competitive gameplay. So we have our true ranks, we can see our losses, we can see the match rank, you can see where you're at within a rank. Like all of these are very good things. So for the small rank that I played this season, all of those little changes were very good. In terms of balance, yeah, I think it's too early to say. Every time I see the Briggs shield, like fear like sparks up, but then nothing really happens. But just as an idea of the brig changes, I think are we allowed to talk about the brig changes yet, or is that like Gibby's whole thing?
No, go for
Okay.
it.
I think the idea of the brig changes are the thing that's wrong. It's not necessarily is it overpowered. It's just why are we taking a step in the direction to have more shields and more stuns when the whole point of Overwatch 2 was to get away from shields and stuns. Like I don't mind if it's not overpowered, because the thing is, if it's not overpowered, Brig has to be buffed more, right? And then it's like, what? Do you give it more stuns? Do you give it more shield? Like, what do you do? Because you've already gone down that direction.
So I will introduce, as I lead to KarQ, I'll introduce a little bit of a wider thing, which is that often on this podcast, because the regular cast are Sam, Frito, and Flats, not known as any support players, I am often attacked with the yardstick that there's not enough support representation on the podcast, that, you know, these guys are whiny tank DPS babies that you know, they don't like... They don't understand what it's like. So, like, I mean, as 3 resident support mains, KarQ.
I'm a tank main now. What are you talking about? I got promoted.
True.
I got promoted to the highest rank in tank somehow with the new DK, with the new system.
I mean,
so
these things. So, for example, to lead in the brig change, for example, you know, a lot of people said, well, it gives Brig more pop-off potential for herself to now stun and interrupt an ultimate. Is another potential way for her to have more fun. Whereas obviously players who maybe play tank or something, they might be like, this is anti-fun for me. I mean, where's your stance on this?
I think I agree with Dan where like they went backwards in the direction where they are trying to remove stuns and whatnot, and they like gave some power back. But like at least it's not a stun, you know, that was on a 5 to 7 second cooldown like normal shield bash was in early Overwatch 1, right? So like it's very limited power in a small time, so I'm not like super opposed to it. But maybe I'm also, you know, from this perspective, we are the support players. I'm not the tank getting stunned all the time and getting outplayed, and I can understand the frustration from the tank's POV. So I don't know. Like I actually think it's okay, to be honest with you. And maybe my bias is showing, like having a Briggs like protect me as an Ana and stun like the 3 million flankers. Like the thing is, you can't please all 3 roles. The tanks don't like getting discorded and stunned. The supports don't like getting jumped by Ball Tracer Genji every single game. Like that wasn't fun in season 1. And then eventually, like the DPS players, when they nerf enough of the stuff, they're gonna be like, oh, like DPS is so boring. I forgot what the original like complaint was for DPS players in that capacity, but you know what I mean.
Well, I see a lot of DPS players say, oh, well, you know, what's the point? Supports are better DPS than TPS half the time. I can't even duel them.
Oh,
So wrong.
Yep. That's wrong.
Nah, yeah, I don't agree with that. I think like Sojourns and Widowmakers and Snipers control the game right now more so than supports.
Eskay as the rank,
Eskay, go ahead.
Flex goddess.
Okay, I will say I played Junker Queen a lot, and the Brig stun was not that bad. It like lasts half a second. The only time it made me mad is when I ulted and then she stopped my ult, and I was like, oh, I forgot about that. But I could have just avoided that.
Yeah, the playmaking. You have to play around the stun now, but it's like 1 or 2 stuns maximum, and like you have to time it very well. Then.
Yeah. I like it, kind of.
It's okay.
So.
It does give you a bit more counterplay for Brig, sure, but to work around another factor, but. It doesn't feel too crazy. It's like, yeah.
And I want to say, I was watching a little bit of the podcast, and Samito and Flats, I have beef with you, all right? How can you say support has the most value in this game? You are out of your mind. Play support for like 20 hours. Okay, play Lucio and just watch as your team. It's like you just walk around with your little speed aura, and yay, very fun. Sorry,
I
that's
don't
it.
see how it's even a question that tank obviously has the most impact in Overwatch 2.
I think
Like,
it's
by a
DPS.
long shot. You think it's
I think
DPS?
it's tanks and DPS. Like the tanks kind of determine where all the fights and everything kind of goes,
Yeah.
the pacing of it, the structure. So obviously, if your tank isn't doing that correctly, it'll feel terrible for the rest of the team. And then for the DPS, it's like some people who are just like way too good at the hit scans, the snipers. It just
Yeah, it's oppressive. It's so oppressive.
Yeah.
So we got a little spread here. So yeah, SK you think is DPS, Dan you think is tanks, and KarQ you think is tank
Yeah.
and DPS. Is that correct?
Both, yeah. And I think supports are the least impactful in that capacity, but they're not like as far away as people think. I do think like getting Suzu'd and like all
Agreed.
that stuff, and it is impactful. Kitsune Rush is a strong ult and all that stuff. Don't get me wrong, but I do think yeah, tanks and DPS definitely have more
So I'm
impact in that way.
curious to unpack SK's statement a little bit more. I know what Sam would say. I've spent enough time with Sam now to have a vague understanding of how he's going to respond. He would say, well, SK, I'm like rank 19 on support, so I think I know what I'm talking about.
Me too, man. And I don't know. I've been playing a ton of every role, and to me, it just seems so like glaringly obvious. I don't know. Like, as a support, unless I'm playing Ana, Bap, or Zen, and I'm just killing everyone, I feel like I'm along for the ride, or at the very least, I have less impact than a Ramatra who can ult and kill 4 like 1v4, or a DPS who can get a pick every fight. Like, I've seen people just single-handedly change games on Widow, and as soon as they swap, they lose. But they stomp with Widow. I don't know. I have like last season I played 150 games of DPS. I played like 50 on tank and 100 on support, and it definitely feels I'm really bad at DPS. It's like my worst role, but I see so many situations where like if I was better, I could have done so much more. Like I could single-handedly control this game. And sure, there are some of those moments if you play flex supports, but like Lucio, Mercy, even Brig, I don't know. Those heroes just I feel like I'm along for the ride, and I have to pray that my team is better than theirs, unless we're on Lijiang Tower and I boop everyone off the map.
So as much as I love inflammatory discussions that everyone can rage about, I will try and add a bit of nuance to the conversation, which is that I actually have Gavin Winter in the chat, who's a Blizzard developer who's responsible for the competitive stuff.
Hi, Gavin.
I won't say the actual data of what we see is the most impactful role, but I will say the strongest role is rank dependent, just like the strongest hero is rank dependent. I do think these conversations are more colored by what we mean when we say support or we say DPS or we tanks. I think the heroes in each category are a bit more the deciding factors, right? I think it's like, so for example, I think on the support, you're absolutely right, SK, where it's like you're playing Lucio, you're playing Brig, you're playing Mercy, you're often at the behest of your team to be like, I hope they pop off, because like all I can do is this. And even other supports, right? Like maybe Kiriko, sometimes you kind of feel like, okay, well I Suzu'd the right thing, but like, you know, they still trolled. And maybe Lifeweaver will be like this a lot, where it's like, oh, I gripped a guy, I put him on the platform, but he still trolled. Like, what am I supposed to do? I think like, yeah, there's a lot of heroes that have a lot of disproportionate impact. Because then on the flip side is like Ana, Zen. And because again, I also view myself as a flex player primarily. Like, I don't really identify with any of the 3 roles. But like, you know, and I've been on journeys like grinding, one-tricking heroes on each role for like a week straight. So when I was playing Junker Queen, for example, and Eskay, you might relate to this, you're locking the Queen now too. It was very oppressive going up against Ana, Kiriko. Like, it was super oppressive where you're just like, you can't even do things half the time until a cooldown is out. And you're just sat there waiting for this cooldown to come out, right? Where you're like, okay, well, if they have 19-8, I can't ult. If they have Suzu, I can't ult. If they have Sleep, I can't ult, right? You just sat there and you're just waiting. But then on the flip side, I also understand, like, again, being some of these roles, you're like, well, I used the thing at the right time and my team still tossed. Because you don't have the impact to kill the things. Kills win the game, right? Kills win a game of Overwatch. So the roles and heroes that can kill stuff will always have that potential to just dominate the lobby. Where like my most hated hero is like Hanzo, where I'm just like, what do I fucking do about this guy? Like, I try to duel him up close, he one-shots me. I try to play long range, he one-shots me. And it's like, there's nothing I can do. And at any moment, you can be making like 5 tactical plays, support or tank or whatever, and then this guy goes bonk, bonk, bonk in a corner, and 3 people are dead, and it's like, that's fight over, and you're like, oh shit, well, that was good. So
I think
you go ahead.
Sorry. I think as a tank player, I can understand thinking supports have the most impact because you are so hard countered. Like it makes such a big difference based on what supports they're playing. Like you're right, when you play Junker Queen against Akiri, it's just so different when you're playing against a team that doesn't have Akiri. Like you can ult for free. Akiri cleanses all of your bleeds. You're just ridiculously hard counted. And it's the same if you're playing Hog. Like if you're playing against an Ana, you can get slept, you can get naded, or they go on a Zed and then you just die instantly. But if they're not picking the right supports, I think it's important to like not what's the word? Confuse the two. Like one of them is countering and one of them is the impact, the like total impact that you can have on the game. I guess that's what I'm getting at. If I said that right.
Yeah. Dan?
Yeah, I mean, I think Eskay is right. You, as a tank, you're going to notice the cooldowns coming at you. Like, if I go against a Roadhog, I actually do switch off KarQ and just throw cooldowns at the Roadhog. So, like, anyone who's playing Roadhog is like, yeah, oh, well, obviously, Ana has the most impact here. I'm getting slept, I'm getting anted. Like, everything's happening to me from Ana. So I guess there is more of a battle going on between the support and the tanks, and then, you know, the supports are trying to just survive against the DPS, so they don't feel it as much.
Yeah. I mean, KarQ, like, how would you add to this as well?
I mean, what did Winter say? It's just like it depends on what heroes being played.
They said it's rank dependent. It said it's rank dependent. Basically, they won't disclose, but like it depend. The roles and the heroes that are most impactful are rank dependent.
Well, it's almost as if all of our opinions are also dependent on what roles we main and stuff too.
I think it's definitely a lot of bias.
And then there's bias everywhere. So at the end of the day,
my question is,
yeah, can't please everybody. Go ahead. Yeah.
How do they decide? Like, what data do they look at to decide that something is the most impactful? Because like, if you just look at a win rate of a hero, that's not good because you're comparing against the other role. Like that's support versus support. So how do you decide an impact data value?
It's probably a mix of like player sentiment and a little bit of data, I suppose. Maybe unmirrored win rates, what they've kind of shared. Whatever they've shared publicly was like the data, and then general sentiment from the community, I suppose. I would like to assume they take all sides of the coin, both the high competitive people explaining like their gripes and issues with XYZ hero, but also the casual community. If both communities actually are, you know, shaking hands and agreeing that this is oppressive, even if the data doesn't show that on their end, they might still make the adjustment because you can't quantify how people feel playing against something. Like data can't show that. You can quantify win rates. That's like, you know, tangible, is that the right word? But like the intangibles is how we feel.
How are you feeling?
Deep inside.
I imagine stuff like win rates is probably their biggest indicator, but Dan's also right to point out that there is more nuance to it than just, actually we have a response. Gavin says, one method we like to look at is how MMR of a given player impacts a match. So if a support is the highest rank in the match, what does that do to their team's win rate? What if it's a tank? That's very interesting. Again, go ahead, Dan.
The problem with like just win rates, it doesn't show you, you know, how impactful that role is against another role. It only shows you how good support is versus support. Like, how good is KarQ versus Ana? How good is KarQ versus Lucio on the enemy team? If we just reduce it down to one hero to make it simple. It doesn't show you, you know, how good is KarQ at carrying the game as a whole if KarQs are on both teams.
Well, it's also interestingly complex because, like, how many times does the hero force another hero to swap? Is another question I would be curious about. It's like, how many times does the presence of an Ana cause a Roadhog to swap? Because that's huge impact, but it might not even result in a win. Like maybe you lock Ana, you force their Roadhog off Roadhog to a hero that less countered by Ana. That guy still wins on a different hero. Maybe you're not a one trick and you're not as good against Orisa. I don't know. But what we're talking about, the sentiment of like, oh, this role feels impactful. This feels oppressive to me. That would still be there, right? Like you still feel so impacted by the existence of Ana that you switched. So
yeah, and I mean that's kind of what we're saying with Lifeweaver as well. It's like we don't feel like Lifeweaver is necessarily weak. He just kind of feels kind of meh because of all the issues with him.
Eskay, anything you want to add?
It's so interesting. I'm trying to think of like when I noticed that I have a really high MMR, like higher than the lobby player on my team. I'm trying to think of when they would win the most. Like I know if I have a really good Ana or a BAP on my team who's definitely better than the rest of the lobby, we usually win. And I've also seen really good DPS players lose games, but when they get a Mercy pocket, it's just like GG. And I've also seen tanks hard carry games. So now I'm really wondering, like in that situation, which role does have the most impact. But I think in a lobby where everyone's like the same skill, I think DPS still does have the most. But it could be support if the MMR is like way higher than everyone else in the lobby.
It's very
That's so
I'm sure they wouldn't tell us because it would cause too many fires. But again, anecdotally, I always find it most frustrating. I think as tank when I am asked to carry the lobby. I think like if I was on a roll and like the matchmaker was like, because this happens right when you're like sometimes you get put in a lobby and the matchmaking is like go carry these guys, right? Like that does happen.
Yeah.
I think that the most frustrating I find that is when I'm on tank because you do that for 2 fights and you get hard countered, like you get counterpicked and now you're useless. So I find like
and you have to
as
swap
tank,
and do it
you
again.
have to swap and you have to keep swapping because they keep counterpicking you, or you have to, eventually you run out of like good or like the worst scenario, they fucking run it down on Orisa and their Orisa just chases you around the entire game and they're just like spin, 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 spear, 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 fortify, haha, I'm so good, right? So like I guess again it's so intangible that again it's not really objectively valuable for us to make a decision to be like it's tank, it's DPS support, because again I do genuinely believe it's hero dependent. But it's so interesting.
Yeah.
It's so interesting to see the sentiment and the data as well. Dan, you were gonna say something?
No.
No? Okay, sorry. I thought you were starting a sentence. Eskay, you were gonna say something then.
I feel like when I do get those lobbies, I pick the hero that I need, if that makes sense. Like if I know I'm in a lobby where I'm the highest MMR and I need to carry, I will not play Lucio. Like I know I'm going to lose if I play Lucio. Like I always go Ana or I go Kiri, and that's how I win. Or I go Zen, and it's probably the same for like tank. I feel like I could carry really hard on JQ, but then you get counter, then you have to swap, and then it's like blah 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 blah. And yeah.
Yeah, it's very nuanced. And again, my junk queen experience was like, if it was like Mura Bapanian team, I'm farming this lobby. Like, there's nothing they can do to stop me. And then again, the minute they pick like Junker Queen, the minute they pick like Ana, Kiriko, I'm now sad, and like my impact is automatically nerfed. So, yeah, it's very interesting, very very interesting. KarQ, anything to add to that discussion?
You guys hit the nail on the coffin there.
Okay. So final sentiment on the statement. I'm gonna drop Flats' exact words. Support is the most babied role. Thoughts? Yay or nay? Yay or nay? Oh, so Eskay says agreed.
It's the easiest role in the game for sure. I think
Dan? Oh, go ahead. No,
wait,
finish
can
your
I
thought,
say
Eskay.
a
Finish
very
your thought, Eskay.
controversial take? Okay, I think the average skill level of supports in GM is much lower than the average skill level of tanks and DPS players in GM.
Spicy statement. I'm gonna go to Dan first, and then KarQ to reflect on that.
For Baby, are you just saying, oh, this is the easiest role to play, or are you saying like?
I don't want to speak for Flats because it was his statement, but I think what he was referring to is that essentially they get like the minute that their role isn't like performing as maybe we wanted, they start getting changes, they start getting buffs, they start getting all this thing that they don't actually need.
That's the what I
when
thought
actually
was
when
the
actually
idea.
their role is plenty fine and doesn't need buffing, etc.
I think that I disagree because I do think support at the start of Overwatch 2 was in a very bad spot. But what I will say is that just like with the Mercy changes that happened, I feel like Blizzard babied the support community in a way of communicating to them. Because it's like those Mercy changes that happened, they were kind of just a straight nerf, but then it just felt like everything was worded in a way that was like, we don't want to annoy you, we don't want to piss you off, we don't want to tell you that it's a nerf. So we're going to word it in this weird way that makes it sound kind of good. And like I feel like supports are babied in that way. But I don't necessarily think supports like get too strong or anything.
And you don't feel like it's disproportionately easy or anything like that? I'm not going to wade in on SK's statement.
Again, I think it's hero dependent, but no, I don't think it's disproportionately easy.
Okay.
KarQ? I want to say I don't agree with supports getting a ton of balance changes. Not that in the way I meant babied. I meant mostly just that it's really easy.
Okay, you think so your definition of baby is like you just think it's the easiest of the three roles in terms of what you see at GM.
Yes, and also I think the devs are scared of a certain. Anyway, moving on.
Yes, I agree.
Even
Certain
SK,
community?
even SK got cut off before mid
The
sentence.
Zenyatta community? You're
I'm scared
absolutely
too.
right.
I'm scared too.
You
Anyway,
won't even utter their names. Fucking Voldemort out here.
Yeah, the Zen community. I'll say it.
Yeah. Fuck
it's
those
the same
guys.
community.
Fuck all 5 of them. KarQ.
With supports being the most babied role, yeah, I can see that. I can admit that. That's partially true. I also agree. I actually do agree with SK. I think support is if we were to somehow equate mechanical skill, sure. Some supports are very mechanically intensive, but I think as a role average, I do think it's easier to climb on support. It's one of the easier roles to pick up. Let's say that. You get an easier view of the battlefield. You sit in the back, and you can do a low skill floor job and be impactful. Versus other roles where if you don't understand the fundamentals of how to take space and mechanically have the skill to hit stuff as DPS or take space on tank, like it's very much more impactful for your team, and you'll probably lose it in that capacity. But as support, even if things are going bad and you're not great, you can still heal, which is kind of like the bare minimum. Obviously, you need a playmaker, and there's other aspects of support that make you a better support. But I'm saying baseline skill, I would say so, yeah. And anecdotally speaking, I definitely find it harder to play tank and play DPS than compared to support. Tanks mostly because sometimes I'm just up there and then I turn around, everyone's dead. I'm like, what happened?
True.
And then sometimes on DPS, there's just days where I'm like, okay, I can't hit a single shot. This is just not going well. And then as support, it's okay, I'm maybe if I'm missing on Ana, I'll just swap to Kiriko, who can't really miss too hard, or some simpler heroes that can at least generate some value. That's how I see it for those roles.
You could just play Junkrat on DPS.
SK
Junkrat
has
is the
some
hardest
experience.
DPS hero change right
I would
now.
say he's-
Oh no!
I mean, you can spam. That's very baseline as well. I mean, if we want to go to the approach where we're just talking about baseline values, sure, we just kind of spam. But obviously, there's a lot more intricacies. Same with support. There's a baseline thing you can do, but there is a lot more to it. But there are some heroes on support where genuinely heal botting actually works, versus if you just spam rat, it'll work sort of, but obviously there's a more optimal play style with taking proper angles and flanking and one-shotting people. That's actually the more better way to play. It'll work up to a certain point, but it's crazy because even up in GM1, you can actually heal bot and still be at 80% efficiency, and that'll be good enough and impactful enough because your ultimates are pretty impactful. If you heal bot, the byproduct is building a faster ultimate, and that ultimate, you can't misclick. Obviously, you can misclick a nano, but I could just cast a Kitsune, or just click a nano, or click BAP window, or click Valkyrie, and then just fly in the air forever and just hold a beam. Obviously, I might get flamed by some communities if I say it's that simple, but sometimes, the equation for value generated versus amount of inputs needed is easier on support, I will say. Okay, go ahead.
No, I feel like Dan maybe has something to say before I chime in.
I was just gonna say, I think the reason why maybe I view it a bit differently is because I play a very, very, very flank heavy Kiriko. So I'm very far away from just heal botting. But I can see that for 80% of the value. But when I play, I'm how can I get the most value out of this hero rather than, how can I get the baseline out of this and still climb?
Yeah, I think it's that. That's the battle that often these communities have when they're trying to talk about these things is I think what we're alluding to is you can kind of AFK a little bit more easily on support, and I think that is just true. You can just kind of switch off and kind of push responsibility on the other people. Okay, I'm gonna heal you, you do the rest. But then on the flip side, then when it comes time to I gotta carry this game, it's also then harder because your tools are not built to necessarily carry the game. They're bent to okay, I denied that value. Go ahead, fellas, go do the rest now. But it doesn't often come through in that way. Whereas obviously with like tank and DPS, they're built to find that value. But then that means there's no. I think the fallback options are perhaps easier on support, where you can fall back on like, okay, I'll just do the safe thing. Whereas if you do the safe thing on tank or DPS, you're actually hurting your team just by doing it. Like you might be like, I'm just gonna sit here in AFK, but you're now actually causing a big problem for your team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I'm also curious because I think Eskay had a little take about Junkrat, which I personally find that actually it's ironic that a lot of the heroes, they get like free value until like a certain SR, a certain rank, then become exponentially harder at the highest rank when the mechanics level up. So like I felt this a lot as a Reaper, like when in Overwatch 1 and even Overwatch 2, like when I have played DPS, I play a lot of Reaper, and it's like it's comically easy playing Reaper in like plat. You just M1 and W and you just win for free. It's like comically easy. And then you get to like GM top 500 where there's like Widowmakers and Hanzo players, and it's like impossible now. Like the task of getting value at this hero is like, well, I hope I don't get one shot just on my way to try and fight those guys at max range. And I wonder if you're kind of feeling something similar on Junkrat.
I think Junkrat is very similar to my take on supports, where it's really easy to play them at a GM level, but their skill ceiling is incredibly high. And like, I don't know if I invite everyone that says Junkrat is an easy hero to play Junkrat into Pharah, Mercy, Tracer, fucking Monkey, Kiriko, Lucio on the other team. It is impossible to do anything. Like, I genuinely just swap because there's no way I'll ever be good enough to win a game like that on Junkrat. And people that hit rank one tricking Junkrat are so impressive. Blows my mind.
No, I completely agree. I was very much like looking at, the baseline effectiveness, but I definitely appreciate like insane Junkrats who can pull off just like the most ridiculous games that are completely against them.
Yeah,
I
but
think-
it
go
is
ahead,
very
Eskay.
easy to get value. It is very easy to hit GM on Junkrat. I think. Yeah.
Also,
And
there are
below.
other facet of this, I think, is that it shapes, because we've been having a lengthy discussion about like heroes in general, but another facet I think that shapes this is how easily they're countered. Because I think what you're talking about there, SK, is that like
Oh yeah.
there's because like certain heroes like Widowmaker, I think again Hanzo's, to last season Cassidy, it's like it's kind of hard to counter this hero. Like, or even Tracer has this sometimes, where it's like you can pick counters, but it's like they still get value. Like it's really hard to stop this hero getting value. Or Sojourn was like this a lot, right? It's like, what do you do to stop a Sojourn? Nothing. Like if she wants to kill stuff, she will kill it. But then there's heroes like Junkrat. I think tanks have this a lot, where it's like, yeah, I can pop off, but I can also get hard countered. I guess Pharah players would feel this as well, where they're like, maybe if they pick a bunch of hit scan, it's like it's hard for me. I think like the often the heroes that get most hate are often the heroes that like they're like sometimes there's nothing you can do to counter them. Like Mercy can be like this as well, right? Where it's like sometimes you might be like, well, it's hard to run Mercy into this, but also it's like impossible to beat a Mercy pocketing something at a certain time.
Yeah. Oh, I had a thought and it left my head.
Let's bring it back. Give it a second whirl.
The only time where Mercy is ever like countered is if you're running full rush and they're running rush 2 and they just have a Mercy one trick that won't go Lucio. I feel like that's the only way you could ever counter a Mercy.
That's fair.
Whereas like Junkrat, every game you play Junkrat in GM1, they go Echo or Pharah. It's like 1 in 15 games you play where they don't counter you.
That's fair. KarQ, anything to weigh in on that before we head to kind of concluding thoughts? Because I know I've taken a lot of you guys' time. Anything you want to weigh in on that discussion? Thumbs up from the man. Okay, then I know I've taken a lot of you guys' time, so I will not abuse it. Let's head over to concluding thoughts, which is that, yeah, we're kind of in season 4 now, and people are already asking for like, well, what are we gonna get? So, what are we thinking for season 4? What are we looking forward to? What are we kind of seeing? What do you anticipate happening for the next couple of months? Because obviously we have the Space Watch, I think it's called, with the little PvE drop, which should be exciting, and potentially balance changes, lots of fun skins. So what are you looking forward to? We'll start with KarQ again.
To be honest, I didn't actually see the trailer, or I actually learned about it the other day. I didn't actually see the full thing about the Space Watch thing, but if it's is this going to be similar to like the Eichenwald game mode, or is this like an arcade game mode?
I think so. I also have not read too deeply into it, but from what I understand, they have hyped it a little bit to kind of feel like they kind of feel like it's a little bit more of an upgraded version of that.
Okay. I mean, I think it's fine, but like, I mean, I felt with the Eichenwald one with the Junker thing, it's like fun for a day or two, and then that's pretty much you run its course. So like, I hope it's fun. It's a PvP PvE hybrid. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I just hope like the real PvE is like completely different and has replayability more so than this, because like once you beat a mission like this, like there's no replayability unless you're grinding for like leaderboard.
So you're looking forward to something significant as part of season 4 then.
Yeah, for season 4, I mean, I'm just gonna ride the wave and just, you know, play Lifeweaver when it comes out and just see how things go. But I'm kind of like on maintenance mode until the big drop for PvE at this point. Like, I just suck up the PvP, play some variety, and call it a day. Play other games. I'm gonna be honest with you. Just
Real
play
and
like
true.
the new Zelda game. Yeah, all that stuff. I'm more excited for those as well, more so than this. This is just Overwatch is Overwatch, like we said earlier. Like, nothing's big enough to pull me to. I play it for the job more so than, like, I do have fun, but like I'm not gonna like go 12 hours a day because like I love it. I'll play enough to keep up for now.
That's totally fair. I think that's a fair perspective, and thank you for sharing it honestly as well, rather than trying to.
Yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise people will be like shill. It's always tough. The shill hater balance.
Yeah. I'm gonna be real. Like, I love the game, but I'm like, it's been 7 years. Like, I'm like, I love it, but you know, I can do other things too with my time.
7 years, is that not when most marriages break up, the 7-year curse, right? So it's like we're kind of here now. We're like, you know.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm in for the long run for sure. Yeah, May in 1 month it'll be the 7-year mark since Overwatch 1 came out. Like, a lot of growth and development has been out since. I don't think I've actually taken an extended break or any sort of major burnout, strictly because like I think a lot of people like play out the course of like whatever's like fun and stuff. Like, I think with Overwatch 2, I remember the just sentiment from some other creators who were playing like, yeah, this is actually pretty fun. But then because you're playing like 18 hours, you already put in 100 hours in the first like 3 weeks. Or like they finished the battle pass so fast, like now what? Now I just gotta wait for the next season. Like, you know, play at a more moderate pace and you'll find more joy in things.
Which, yeah, that's very life advice, life coach KarQ.
Life advice, yeah.
Which is how a lot of other people have consumed Overwatch. So again, may speak to why. Maybe we, again, it's really hard to say conclusively, but maybe there are a lot of people having fun with Overwatch for that reason, because it's not their job actually, or they're not like 8-hour grinders.
I mean, there's also it's just what do they say? Isn't it like the vocal like minority are always the loudest? There probably are like people who are already on Twitch and watching this. They're actually above being casual. Like, they're consuming content outside of the game. They're already a step ahead. Like, I'm talking about the people that work all week and they log on a Friday and play for like an hour or two, or not even, like just a few matches. That's the super casual people. If they're having fun, I mean, so be it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Dan, how do you feel about concluding season 4 and stuff like that?
Pretty excited for season 4. I switched to support quite a while ago, and I struggled to climb. I came from DPS, and for me, like, Overwatch has kind of been a battle, like, how do I get better at support and climb? And I finally feel like I've like hit my stride with support with Kiriko. Like, just matches my playstyle perfectly. So right now I'm just really enjoying grinding ranked. I'm not too excited for the Space Watch event. Like, I'll play it, and I'll probably try and defeat it on Legendary. If that exists. I don't really know how the mode's going to work, but if that exists, I'll do it on Legendary, and then I'll be done with it. It'll be fun. But, you know, most of all, yeah, Overwatch is Overwatch. Ranked is there, and I'm going to grind ranked because that's what I do, and that's what I like to do. I'm very excited for, like, Lifeweaver. I think there's going to be a lot of cool, creative things that happen with Lifeweaver that we just don't know yet. And then that's going to be the most interesting thing in season 4 for me, is just like someone dropping a clip on Twitter, and it's like, whoa, Lifeweaver Symmetra just teleported over Circuit Real in this position, and, you know, it's now a banned spot because it's too good. Like, I think that's going to be the most exciting thing.
Totally. Eskay.
Hello. I'm excited for season 4. this is my hit scan season. I'm on my training arc. I will see how far I can go on hit scan. For Space Watch, I'm excited. It'll probably be fun for like a day. But at Overwatch devs listening, please let us low man PvE events. Like imagine the grind to complete a legendary event as just 2 people. Like wouldn't that be so cool? That would be so cool.
You're not allowed
yeah.
to even queue in it with 2 people right now?
No, it always
Oh.
auto match makes you to 4. I
Okay.
just think it would be so cool to like try and solo a legendary event and
Yeah.
everyone would be like, "Oh my god, that's so cool! You're the first person in the world." Yeah, so much replayability. I think that's the biggest problem with PvE things. Like we have the leaderboard, but other than that, there's no replayability, and the way to get on the leaderboard is like really cheesy and not really fun for most people.
It's totally fair. I appreciate that. And it's always nice that you bring in these other elements as well, you know, speed running and low manning, as you call it. I've never heard that term before, but yeah, that's
it's
funny.
from Destiny.
Yeah, so I think like, yeah, these are really fun ways, again, to probably add those replayabilities. Not necessarily going to be for everyone, but, you know, for certain sections of certain communities, you know, these are things that really give them that incentive to grind. So I think that's very, very fun. From my POV, yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying Lifeweaver a lot. I still, again, I could be wrong, but I still am willing to stick my neck out and say that I totally see the arc happening with Lifeweaver where he's going to get buffed. People are going to be like, oh shit, this character's OP. Oh shit, he broke Overwatch. And then people are going to be mad again. So I look forward to the kind of the scratching underneath the surface and actually finding out what this hero does. And I do think he's good. I think he's really fun. I really enjoyed I think maybe he just like speaks to me well because I've always been someone who got into Overwatch as a tactician first, never played an FPS before, not really an aimer or anything. So it really speaks to me to be able to kind of just control the battlefield without having to like go do stuff. Although I enjoy doing that too. Like I enjoy playing Ana Zen Bap most, but still I think it's fun. I think, yeah, I mean, all the fringe stuff has been, again, I think all the fringe stuff has usually been a hit for Overwatch. You know, the Lover Watch was a hit. Space Watch, I'm sure, will be fun. Junkenstein was fun. The question really remains on the longevity of it. It's like, you know, we want stuff that keeps people coming back again and again. So hopefully we start getting that kind of stuff, that engagement that keeps people really, really interested and keeps I want that feeling of the community feeling really, you know, fresh and excited, not, you know, 2 days in being like, oh, I'm bored. I already completed, you know, I ranked up and it says I'm better than 100% of the Grandmaster players. What next? You know, like it's always a shame to be in those kind of situations. So hopefully it's all a hit, and hopefully maybe overly optimistic, but I'd like some PvE news soon. You know, I'd like to hear soon about what's happening, what's cooking this year, because, you know, 2023 was supposed to be the launch date. Where's it at, fellas? Where's it at? So, yeah. Any other thoughts, guys, you want to express before we let you get going?
I believe in Overwatch.
Copium.
You guys are too good for the game to fail.
I think so. No, I think there's just untapped potential. I still believe too.
Nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of untapped potential. Agreed.
Good. The believer's still out here. So again, thank you very much, KarQ, Dan, and Eskay, guys. Please do check them out. Show them some love, and so grateful for their time that they've given me. Yeah, guys, thank you so much for your time and company. I hope you guys have fantastic season 4s, and yeah, I hope we all stay winning and Overwatch keeps rejuvenating itself.
Thanks for having us, man. That was awesome.
Yahoo!
Thanks, SVB.
Thanks, SVB.
Peace out, guys. See you soon.
you.
Bye.
Bye.